Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ESL PUBG Masters America Phase 2 Grand Final. My name is Porsource, and I will be your host for this first weekend of play, where we see the top 16 teams from North America and Latin America battle it out for money, PGC points. But I'm not doing it alone. I've got two of my best friends here with me, Matchroom and Clover. Matchroom, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh, I am doing great, especially now that we're going to get both of the regions together, I guess sub-regions together for the Americas Grand Final for ESL. I am excited.
And Clover, I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, so you're here on the desk with us today, but we're glad to have you.
And I'm glad to be here, and you know, I'm kind of glad I'm on the desk now because we've made it a Texas desk, so it's going to be especially spicy, I think, tonight.
It's 1,000 degrees for all of us.
And I cannot stress this enough, as we get to go into the format to figure how we got here from all the way back there. North America and Latin America both started off with those open qualifiers. We whittled it down until last weekend, where we saw the group stage, and we whittled it down to our top 16. We're going to be fighting it out now for a pretty nice, juicy little prize pool, Matchroom.
Yep, and it's going to be kind of what we've been seeing going on with everything PUBG related recently. Each week is going to be its own independent prize pool, starting off at $6,500, diminishing all the way down to $1,000 for 8th place. But if you look and stack both the numbers together from both weeks, whoever gets the most cash overall walks away with an extra $5,000 in their pocket for being the grand champion. I gotta say, I love this format. It means the fact if you have like a bad week one, you can still bounce back, and whenever you're looking at PGC points and everything else, that's super pivotal.
Nice little you bring up a very important point there, and that's PGC points, Clover. A lot on the line this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, as Matt said, it's pivotal, right? Right now, when we look at the PGC points, who's leading? It's Sonics and TSM, and thus far, coming out of the group stages, those are teams that are looking really good. So if your teams like Dodge, like Oath, that are kind of up there on the lead for PGC points, you want to get your work on, or maybe a team that just hasn't quite found their footing yet, this event is huge for you if you want to go to that grand final, at the end of the year.
Big stuff on the line, and we've got a lot of teams here to talk about, a lot of teams to get through. Matchroom, you want to break us down all 16 teams right now?
I would, but I feel like there is somebody that might be a little bit more, experienced in doing this. So why don't we throw it to him instead?
Yeehaw, everybody! Porosaurus here from Porosaurus's Used Car Emporium, turned all-you-can-eat diner, turned used dog emporium, turned empty building full of rats. Now, I've seen a lot of Yelp reviews calling my businesses cringe and demanding I blink if I need help because I need to get out of my cringe businesses. Well, shut up, jerks. I'm not cringe. I'm just a great businessman who's fallen on hard times. But all that changes now that I got superpowers from all these rat bites. That's right, the rats turned on me and bit me up something fierce. Which was a good thing, because now I can collapse my skeleton to squeeze under doors, I can eat trash, and when I go out in public during the daytime, I freak people out. But lest we forget, the #1 power that rats have is teamwork. So I've been itching to put together the perfect superhero team, and that's just what I did for these here ESL Masters Americas. Now, first up on my superhero team, they're mean, they're sort of green, and they're the strongest men in PUBG, the Sonics. You wouldn't like these guys when they're angry. But fortunately, they're coming into the Americas Finals in first place with the most chicken dinners, so they're in a pretty good mood. And why just have one clobbering machine when you can have two? Trogloditas is coming at you hard and fast, all while yelling, Trogloditas! The throwbacks from way back came in first place in the LATAM group stage and plan on clobbering their way up to the top. Now next we've got the Iron Men, wink wink, of PUBG Americas, TSM FTX. Now these dudes are armored up and ready to blast the competition into smithereens with all sorts of cool throwables. And despite coming in 5th in PCS4, they're not worried, as they are a seasoned team and know how to handle the ups and downs of competition. Crochet! From the nursery to the top of the scoreboards, Crochet was only 3 kills behind Trogloditas in the group stage, and it would not be surprising at all to see them do that well in the finals. Now, Dignitas is a team made up of great players from different teams in different parts of the world. They absorb any tactics or talents they come across, and the result is a very strong and dangerous team that's been consistently one of the top teams in the Americas. Every superhero team needs a new and younger version of themselves, and the Young Kings sort of fit that bill. While the players themselves have loads of experience, the team is young and fresh, and a team that any other team should be wary of. So watch out, other teams, for this team. Team. Now, it wouldn't be a superhero group without 4 people who went to space and got superpowers. Space Station Gaming picked up their current roster earlier this year, and these guys can be unstoppable when they're all on the same page. They were able to get the wins they needed to advance to the finals, which should come as a surprise to absolutely no one, and I'm sure their performance in the finals will be out of this world. 303 Esports is a name that should be familiar to any esports fan, and with a long history in PUBG, this current roster is full of dudes that work out together and train together and kill together. And these finals give us a chance to see if they can win together. Every superhero ensemble needs a young, cocky, flashy, on-fire guy. And that's what the gas cans are. Just a bunch of dudes causing chaos all over and still pulling out wins. Sometimes superheroes need to be anti-heroes, and that's the only way to describe a superhero that burns down everything he touches. People hate that. No Chance for You is a new team in the LATAM scene, but their players aren't new at all. RDS 149 and Balkan found some successes together on Enrage Esports, and now they've branched out onto their own and are looking to fight crime on their own terms. What the? Huh? What's that? Oh, right. That's Dodge, zooming down the street to help save innocent citizens from the ne'er-do-wells of the world. Nothing better than watching a dastardly scoundrel think he's pulled one off to only find himself then upside down and handcuffed to a lamppost. Dodge's recent play has shown them to be one of the top teams to watch out for. Now, most superheroes focus on people, but as John Muir once said, between every 2 pine trees, there is a door leading to a new way of life. And sometimes behind that door is 22 Esports waiting to shoot you in the face for disrespecting nature. Don't just open doors, dummy. Knock first, Steve. Up next, we got Oath, the Aquaman of PUBG NA. Now, just as strong as any other superhero, as long as they're in their own environment. And it turns out that their environment is the last match of the group stages. Jeez, Oath, you gave everybody little heart attacks, which I've been getting a lot of recently, possibly from the rat bites, but I don't trust doctors, so who knows? And yeah, fake news, Steve. I was home when you came to check on me, but I was busy sleeping. I sleep about 20 to 22 hours a day now that I'm a superhero from all those rat bites. Anyway, Versus showed up in a big way in the LATAM group stages and survived the pressure from the final games. And as we all know, pressure makes diamonds. So watch out, because these guys are sharp and will cut you like a diamond. Veritas, aka Truth, Justice, and the America's Way. That's just what these guys represent. Like a true hero, they secured their spot in the finals at the very last second, snatching victory out of the jaws of defeat. And there's nothing more American than letting a problem go untreated until you absolutely have to. And yes, I've been having hallucinations and passing out, but a t-shirt I saw on the internet said that pain is just a sign of weakness leaving the body. So pretty soon, I'll be free of all weaknesses. Fiumba. This team name is new, but the faces aren't. Draft King, Emmy, Songjing, and Silzen have been around for a while, lurking in the shadows, striking out at any villain foolish enough to cross their path. So don't do crime in front of them. So if you've got some supervillain problems, make sure to call me, Porosaurus, and I'll send some of these superheroes to save the day for you. We're not messing around. These heroes get the job done because this is PUBG ESL Masters Americas, baby. Let's go. What more can I say other than you're welcome?
That was a work of art. Whether or not it was like an abstract piece of art or a classic piece of art, only time will tell.
A little more Dali, a little less Renaissance, but you know what? There's a lot of teams in there, and if you get through all the muck and the mire, we've got some pretty strong teams, not only from North America, but you start looking at Latin America, they start looking pretty good too. Clover, who's kind of sticking out to you?
I mean, I think that if we don't bring it up, we would just be completely amiss. It is Sonics, right? Sonics has won 2 big events this year, but they kind of had a shaky start. ESL Masters 1. Mime had sat out. Zampa subbed in for them for that event, and they didn't perform that well. So I think all eyes are on them to see if they can make up from that ESL 1 performance now that we're here at Americas 2.
See, on the flip side of that, though, I want to talk about TSM. Because TSM shoots a kill whenever we look back at the last ESL event. They did phenomenal in that moment whenever Sonics was having, I guess, their one weakness in the year so far. So question abounds, can they repeat? Is it going to be TSM coming back to ESL, which is kind of their home turf at this point, I would say, and see if maybe they can step up and take away another victory from the Sonics?
I mean, it's a good point, right? When we look at the group stage here, both TSM and Sonics kind of are going back and forth. They led the lobby. And I know we always throw around a bit of the curse, but I mean, is that going to be something they can break? And speaking of breaking a curse, Spicy Fish, aka now Space Station Gaming, another one of those teams that seems to get themselves set up, but then when it comes to getting the wins, they had struggled a bit. So coming out of the group stages looking, I think, a little bit more polished than we had seen them previously, this could finally be the event that we see them pop off.
I'm hoping so. We keep seeing the capabilities of Space Station Gaming. It's just the chicken dinners themselves are quite elusive at the time. So if they can manage to cement that in and pick them up. Now, on the other side of this, though, Trogloditas, this is their opportunity. Whenever we look at Latin America, Rage has kind of been the team that's been eating up all the PGC points. They did not qualify this time. So Trogloditas, this is your time. You have the capabilities. Let's be real. Necro, Kill Demo, Rusty Zero. Whenever we're looking at everybody that is across this roster, including execs, there is so much potential to just walk into a team fight and get it. Now the question remains, are they going to take this opportunity and can they really find something with it?
I mean, I want to back off that point just for a second because you do bring it up. I mean, Trogloditas are looking great. I was really happy with what I saw from them during PCS 4, but the wins eluded them. However, the kills and I think just the opportunities for them to constantly make it up in the late game are there. So if they could take what they learned from that, come to PSL strong, there's a huge chance. And as you said, with Enrage being out, a first or second place performance here in the Masters would put them in the #1 spot for LATAM.
Yeah, and looking at those PGC points, obviously we're keeping now that we're halfway through the year, or halfway through the amount of events that they're trying to collect all these points. You look at our top 5, top 6. Whoever wins PCS 5 gets the auto invite, but then you've got Space Station that's sitting in that 6th place spot. You know that Latin America is getting the guaranteed spot at least for one LATAM team. But the thing is, Matt, as these tournaments have progressed, these Latin teams are looking better and better every single time.
Just more fierce is the only way I can really describe it. Is at the start you could tell the fact that they were trying to figure out the meta and how everything worked together, but now they're starting to gel in, figure out the way that they want to approach all of these fights, and they are constantly threatening teams that are so strong around them and regularly walking around with upset capabilities, or in some cases starting to get more and more favored, like what we're talking about with Trogloditas.
Yeah, and Clover, so, okay, you saw the maps down below. We got 4 games today. We're starting 2 on Erangel, 2 on Miramar, right? I guess the question is here, how important is it that these teams come in here in game 1, game 2, not only try to get as many points as they can, but how much trouble are they going to be in if Sonics or TSM get that first win and start that snowball rolling?
I mean, we have seen Sonics or TSM get a first win and then go through a little bit of a dry spell. So I wouldn't hold it in entirely too much power, but I think the big thing is going to be if we see them with multiple wins coming out of day 1. Typically, we see a good spread, and even through the group stages, we saw a lot of that 4 different teams kind of winning each and every match. But that said, with Erangel, we get some of those crazy circles. I'm really curious to see how those teams are going to kind of rotate into each other, because that was another big thing talking about LATAM that we really saw in some of these previous events.
A little bit under a minute until we throw it into the game. Matrim, who do you have your eyes on for this first game to come out super strong, super fast?
All right, we've been talking a lot about Sonics. We've been talking a lot about TSM. I do have to remind everybody, Dodge had a phenomenal PCS where they were going back and forth, and we saw a chicken dinner race going on between these 3 teams. Can they carry over? Can that bring that momentum into this event and showcase that they have the capabilities yet again to be like one of the top 3 teams in North America?
Anybody you're looking at in particular, Clover?
I mean, I'm looking at Oath. Oath looked really good. Obviously, that shaky till the last moment win. I think they're going to take that momentum and motivation into this first game.
Hasn't been difficult for Oath to get wins up until recently this year, but let's throw it into game number one. We are ready to get this thing started, and we're going to give it over to the casters, Godspeed and Cameron Davis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to ESL Masters Americas Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's going to be an amazing series of games. We have this first leg happening this weekend. Then, of course, weekend number 2 happening in the second weekend. Next weekend. I know it's a complicated schedule, but glad you're joining us. Godspeed. What are you looking at for these first series of games? Because we have a lot of favorites, sort of who's who's of North America's PUBG, but also a lot of new faces in terms of squads coming from Latin America.
That's true. First of all, I'm looking at you, Kim. Looking great as always. It's been a while since we've casted together. But yeah, I'm actually really looking at honestly Latin America, because for the first time I feel like ever an event, especially coming into an event after some roster shuffles, it's not North America. It's not us that actually has a majority of the roster shuffles. It's actually been Latin America with a lot of new rosters that you said. Obviously, Troglodytes is one of the teams that we're looking at because of how strong they have been, not only in the past but also in PCS. There was a lot, and also there's a lot going on with them. But also, I really want to talk about 303. I really liked what we started to see from 303 at the end of PCS4. Obviously, they've had one roster move, and that's actually T-Plants leaving the roster in order to find a new home in Versus. But I really think that 303, if they can continue on the success that they had towards the end of PCS4, which was starting to get aggressive, something that we talked about a lot about that team was that they were kind of indecisive and they wouldn't make the right decisions they needed to at the time. That seems to be something they're remedying, so we'll see. I'm really looking at 303.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I think the biggest takeaway from the Latin American teams is that, in general, on a whole, since we've merged the two now sub-regions of North America and Latin America, is that they are getting better every single event, but we have yet to see a team be a top. Like, on average, they're getting better, but the teams themselves seem to peak and then fall back down. Like, we're all looking at Troglodytes right now, but like they performed very, very well in PCS4. I'm looking to see if they can finally be the first consistently good Latin American team. And here we are in game number 1. We see all the drop spots. It's a very, very friendly opening plane path. No hot drops. No one's landing on each other. Akreche, their drop looks a little interesting to me. It's not super high in loot availability. You could say the same thing about SSG.
I mean, at the very least, at Crochet, they have that old, it looks like that old tempo split, right? Where they take most of the West Coast, God Compound, all those positions to loot from. The thing that confuses me slightly was the fact that, yeah, they're landing kind of close to Space Station, which Penta,
Listen, you gotta take them. You gotta take those shots.
No, that's fair. You know, that's totally fair. But yeah, ultimately, I think off this drop, we're not going to see anything too crazy happening. Depends on the circle, which is,
yes.
It's all right. Vanilla circle, yeah.
There's a little bit of Sosnovka involved. There's the strait, there's the water that you have to sort of pay attention to. But as long as this thing doesn't hard shift down towards the south, I'm not too worried about it. I think we can say that the curse of Erangel Game 1s is broken. I don't want to say that too early, even though I just did, because I feel like now we are going to get that southern hard shift. But until that happens, I think we can just have a nice gradual uptake of tempo as we go into this event. You know, you got to get a little bit of warm-up reps.
Of course.
Before you can really go for the full-on deadlift.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see exactly what these circles do. I mean, this, as you said, yeah, this could absolutely shift down south and do some really wacky stuff, which I'm hopeful for. I'm sure the players aren't, but, you know, that's... it is what it is. The other thing I want to talk to you about, just briefly, is what you said. We haven't really seen that Latin America like powerhouse, right? As far as the consistency, Troglodytes is potentially becoming that. But I want to agree and just touch on the fact that you said the teams in Latin America have been getting a lot better because of the combination of the subregions, which is huge. And I think maybe not last event, obviously, or even this event, but I think going forward and going into whatever happens next year, I think Latin America, honestly, and that subregion is going to become incredibly powerful because I feel like a lot of the players there are especially hungry to find success. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, we've gotten actually quite a few pieces of information. ESL went out and interviewed a couple of these teams, and a lot of Latin American players. You can just tell from their answers that they are like still trying to grind it out. They're trying to prove themselves. A number of them acknowledge the privilege of being able to be a competitive esports player. And I'm not saying that North America doesn't feel the same way about it.
Well,
but you
no,
can
it's
just
just
tell
a
that
region,
yeah, the region as a whole, like these guys have that drive under them, and that drive to really try and match who are essentially the top players in the region off North America of Sonics, TSM. You can even argue Dignitas is up there. Dodge is starting to sniff around that sort of top level area, and of course Oath.
Oath, for man, watching the Oath really love to just kind of pull at the heartstrings, right? They went from being a team that had no issues winning games at PGIS, obviously, to continuing that success throughout PCS4, but then they decided to wait till the very last game to qualify. And it's just like Oath is such an enigma for me at this point because their roster is so unbelievably strong and mechanically talented, but they haven't really struggled, but they're just barely skirting by and making it. I say barely as they obviously place third place in PCS4, but I just feel like they're a team that if they can actually all show up at the same time in these games, there's really not many teams, including Sonics. I'd say Sonics and TSM, FTX are the only ones that can really hang with them when they're playing and firing on all cylinders. The problem is they're not doing that constantly. The consistency from both is, I think, the biggest issue on that team.
Yeah, you also have to acknowledge the fact that their best games do come from them finding themselves in a position, or rather, if you want to be PC about it, putting themselves in a position to just third party anyone and everyone around them, which in the current format is not something that you can really try and force every single time. So I think for them, it's a fork in the road for Oath. They can either choose to lean into that style even more, but in this particular game, coming from Severn, it's going to be hard to try and guarantee a similar position, since most people are going to be in a better circle spot before they even get inside. Or they could try and sort of plug up their other weaknesses, which is how do we deal when we get shifted hard against? How do we play on the edge? I think they have a couple of options in front of them, but yeah, they really need to try and find some way to sort of shore up those few weaknesses that they do have in their playbook.
Yeah, I agree, to be completely honest. And the other thing is, I really actually like where No Chance has decided to kind of take haven here off these two little flat top compounds. We see Dignitas across. And this is one of the probably most contested rotation spots, because a lot of teams obviously want to try to center up as much as possible, especially on a circle where it's basically death road, right? Like that dirt road. How many times, Cameron, have we seen just teams get slaughtered up there trying to rotate or trying to hold it, especially the Wizard Tower? So first circle, again, this is going to be fairly stale. I hate to say it, but most of the teams are already in. The only teams that aren't in are Troglodytes, Oath, and both those teams are rotating in from the north, and they should be fairly safe. Might be a little bit of a hang-up on the southeast, or excuse me, the southwest, but we'll see.
That does seem to be where a number of teams are driving through, and yeah, it is going to be versus Akreche, and Young Kings even just sneaking a peek into this engagement itself. T-Plents hiding behind the tree, positioning himself in case Akreche do want to continue and push this engagement, but no, I think everyone wants... Oh, I spoke too soon! They do want to go for a little bit of a dance here, as Akreche are full-on lining up for this. Grenades are coming in, shots coming out, KSH gets the first knock.
And just like that, look at Akreche turning the tides. Versus now in a lot of trouble. It's just Groper. Groper left.
Really not a great look for Versus, just having to prone down on the ground, and that's going to be it. In the span of 2 seconds, it feels like Akreche are able to take the first full engagement. 4 kills. They got a couple of knocks against them, but they can easily heal themselves up. You do gotta give it to Versus a little bit. You could tell how difficult of a position they found themselves in. Young King's presence just to the south made their options incredibly limited, and really good play on Akreche to recognize that and capitalize on a weakened opponent.
I'm actually curious, Cameron, do you remember what this dip was called? I don't even know if it's still called that, but this was C9 dip. C9 dip, you remember? Yep, this is exactly where... This is where they used to camp out, and this was actually one of the toughest spots to rotate past, especially if it was a melee circle. So I really do like the positioning there of Akreche, and obviously they were able to catch Versus off their heels. I am curious what the players call that now, though, because there is no C9 anymore, sadly. Maybe one day.
What is it now? Genesis dip, or now even Sonic's dip? Or
Genesis dip, yeah, but or That's true. Huid has actually been on all those teams that div is named after. That's
no,
crazy.
because the current Sonics is a descendant of that Cloud9 2019 Cloud9 roster. There's a clear through line from team to team to team throughout all of that. But we'll see what Sonics themselves can actually do, because they're not too far from that area. If the circle does continue to shift further towards the east, they might be in a good position to catch rotations themselves. Troglodytes now just arriving to their own spot, coming in around the north, just off of Razak. Here are a couple of shots coming, I'm assuming from Veritas, who had posted up. Veritas on their own right, having come from the apartments loot spot. Not contested by 22. 22 went to Razak, so that whole dispute that we saw throughout PCS4, not really an issue right now.
Yeah.
But what is an issue is Kill Demo finding a place to stop at.
On top of that, if you're talking about the east real quick, if we can pull up the map, I mean, we do see that Oath had a really nice rotation all the way from the north. We knew that was clean, and they decided to go all the way east back down to Milta Power, which is essentially their home. And now because of that, they found themselves pushing into Lumber, which is not a bad place to actually foot push, especially if they don't want to take vehicles into this next circle, depending on what it does. Especially if it shifts east, Oath is in a phenomenal position, actually.
Yeah, that'd be really, really good for them. The question is, what happens if it goes the opposite direction? We touched upon a little briefly what you called the Milta Death Road. Anyone coming from Lumber across that way is going to have to have a very tricky rotation. Let's see where Phase 2 decides to swing, however. It's going to be central. It's a southern shift, we should call it. Central.
Central-ish.
But southern, considering that water in play, and a few teams are going to have to struggle to find their way inside this current position.
Yes, as Crash is finding more knocks, this time on 303, and this actually becomes the issue with the circle, is although most of the teams are inside the circle, the biggest problem is the fact that most of the teams are inside the circle, which means that the next shift is actually going to very much create this very claustrophobic environment for these teams, especially the ones around Milta. And as we know, fighting in Milta is, at least from experience, I can tell you, I hate it. I think it's awful. There's obviously a lot of buildings, a lot of angles to go in. Here comes Gas Cans trying to push off Silzen, but he's actually going to stop.
He's forced to. The pressure from Gas Cans, multiple angles held onto him. He has the rest of his squad rolling up, and they're going to try and get their own surround, but they need to be worried because Oath are creeping in just behind them. And I think right now, Fiumba is popping into the vehicles, arriving on by, trying to avoid these engagements because it is a little too early for a fight. You don't want to go down. We all know how important it is staying 4 alive, but Snake is just trying to make it down to 3. Can he land the shots?
No, I mean, actually, I don't think he was able to get too much damage on that, but he was able to shoot them off, at the very least, stop them from stopping earlier than they would have. But even still, again, this causes more and more just issues for a lot of the teams that are starting to bunch up in and around Milta.
Zex gets knocked on Troglodytes. So does Necro. So we can see the struggles of finding a location to land at still really putting the hurt to Troglodytes. The smoke comes out to try and get the revive onto the execs, but Rusty is really worried about TSM. We see the roll up from Purdy to get the revive on his own teammate, so they are going to stay alive as 4, but Kill Demo needs to peek in from the dirt road.
Unfortunately,
trying to find that angle, but yeah, playing for safety, you really can't blame him.
No, and he can't because Exex is being knocked, and this is what I was talking about. This dirt road is so difficult to play on and around because, again, especially in this circle where teams have to generally rotate around the north, they're going to find opposition. And as we can see, Troglodytes is still sandwiched in between Veritas and TSM FTX.
Yeah. Now that Exex has been confirmed, TSM are rolling on off because they know that this fight is not one that's going to net them a lot of topside if they do win it cleanly, and there's always the opportunity for Troglodytes, as wounded as they are, to maybe take 1 or 2 members of TSM with them. So instead, they're just going to roll on through, grab a free compound, not too far from center.
No,
and beggars can't be choosers, especially considering how far TSM had to roll into this circle.
The one good thing about this compound, even though it is, yeah, you're right, a little more on the western edge, is the fact that TSM actually has a decent amount of sidelines now to see what's going on in the rest of the circle. They'll see that there's a team at Snake Compound, which is Sonics right now, which is definitely one of the more stronger positions. They'll also be able to see the surrounding terrain. And at the very least, they'll be able to make a decision off of that. Troglodytes, on the other hand, have sent it into this Wizard Tower, and yeah, this is their home, I think, for the rest of the game now. I don't think they're making it out of it. Luckily, though, for them, it is dead center in the circle, so we'll see what this shift does.
They got spotted by a number of different teams, able to make it inside safely.
Everyone knows they're there.
But hey, maybe those teams, Dignitas, Dodge, Sonics, can sort of help protect them, as they're going to be shooting at any other team that has to rotate through, and there are going to be a few. You see Akreche already in the vehicles as the circle shifted southeast. There's still a little bit of water, not enough to make it disastrous, but there's still that little bit to make the area of play that much more uncomfortable. But here comes Akreche rolling through Sonic's territory. Mime here with the angle, immediately knocks LFP out, not wasting a breath, drops the grenade, but has to fall away.
That was a disgusting shot coming out from Mime. But yeah, as we saw that shift force Akreche to come in, they did choose a good time to do it though. And that was right off the shift. So it did kind of catch Sonics off guard a little bit. As you saw, Mime was the only one able to receive that crash. I mean, he did a great job of stalling, but you know, they are going to have to now deal with Akreche. And speaking of crashes, Veritas. Oh, this is not going to work. He runs over his teammate.
They're trying to go for it, but Dignitas are holding as good of a defense as you can expect.
Well then.
They only got 3 of those kills because Ethan did guarantee his own self going down. We'll see if that ends up being a worry and tiebreaker, but Sonic has to worry about not just Akreche, because TSM are also rolling in. Shrimzy drops a grenade before he retreats, but retreat he does because he cannot hold off the entirety of TSM.
Oh my
by
goodness.
himself.
Look at this. Penta is in a flaming house, and yeah, Snake Compound just got very, very busy. As I said, TSM was able to kind of scout out and see what was going on, and they saw that Akreche crashed, and they saw that this bottom prio, excuse me, I should say this north prio was open, and now this does give TSM FTX more room to work with. They don't even really have to commit to this fight, Cameron. They could potentially see what's going on north and see if they want to rotate that way.
Spotting towards the east, spotting towards farm. They see Dignitas rolling around. But yeah, I agree. There's really no need for TSM to try and push this any further. If Sonics sort of peek out a little too much, because they are still split, quite risky positioning for Sonics if I'm being honest. And if they do give either Akreche or TSM an opportunity to get that initial knock, it could all completely unravel. On the flip side, if Sonics are able to hold their line effectively, which we know that that's definitely in the cards for them.
Yeah.
Both these teams are not going to be able to find a way further into this match. But no, actually, I think they're going to try and cinch it all up. Shrimzy and Tiggleton rotating back and going to play as 4.
That split was actually very smart until TSM FTX crashed. Once they realized that there was then another team on their north side, yeah, I believe the consolidation of team members was correct. I mean, that's why they did it. Obviously, they're the best team. So good play by Sonics. They still have to deal with Akreche and potentially TSM FTX. We'll see. But as we said earlier, no chance has been chilling here for a while, and they're still technically in, so they don't have to move yet. Their vehicles are safe on the backside of that building, and they have they actually have a decent amount of terrain to work with in front of it. It looks flat, but there are a little bit of hills, especially the vehicles they can use to kind of create mobile cover. And here comes the shift, and it's a farm circle.
Yeah, that was a harsh shift up towards the north. We knew it was going to be somewhat towards the north, but this was almost as north as it could go.
Yeah.
Dignitas, they're sitting pretty. Dodge, they're feeling all right. I could imagine the southern pair are going to go and group up with the northern duo, but immediately Sonic's moving on out. Not surprised to see this. Snake Compound is no longer involved, but Troglodytas, they are going to have to mount an amazing defense. They already have utility in their hands. Fire gets dropped. Grenade gets tossed out the window.
That's huge if they can get it off.
Where's the grenade? It's not popping off. Rusty Zero is able to shoot one of them in the back. There it is. Seconds later. A delayed explosion, but that's going to be Sonics eliminated. Rusty is the only survivor, but when you see that team in the kill feed, everyone else recognizes how open this game suddenly is.
The pre-nades from Trog, we talked about it, man. Trog they were definitely with their back against the wall there, but they threw, the pre-nades were beautiful. The decision to have one play upstairs as well, just in case, like that was well played. Sonics, we'll talk about that in a second. Shinboy, yeah.
Yeah, speaking of pre-nades, Shinboy gets a double with that one. Once again, the second defense for Dignitas is holding out strong. Good counter utility coming out from Fume, but it's not able to find the knocks. It does give Emmy a little bit of space, however. And there it goes. It's going to be Roth with the knock on to Shinboy. Silson is going to be there to pick that one up with a grenade.
Wow.
We do see No Chance get eliminated in the kill feed to 22. That's happening on the northern side, but still we're going to stick here at the fight for farm.
Vegas over here, just eating some of his snacks, you know, just taking a little pic. Hey, what's going on over here? Dodge has actually been completely safe up until this point, and you know, good on them. They took that position early. Because of it, they're basically just watching the chaos happening at a farm. But hats off to Dig. This is the second team now that they have defended against, and so far successfully, although reses might come out. All it takes is one to recover 3, so.
Silzen did go down, but let's look back here, back on the west side as TSM and Akreche are fighting for control of the edge. Luke gets knocked, a good incendiary does come in, Penta blinded. I believe he is on a table, so he is not getting burned. There's just a lot of, wow, more neighbors coming into the farm building. Greg Shot's pushing on in, and now Fuba have to worry about another squad, not just Dignitas.
Fitta's actually going to find off camera 3 knocks with a frag as well. This game is absolute chaos as gas cans are desperately just trying to find cover from all the damages coming in from multiple teams. And Dignitas is still the one holding comfortably at farm.
Yeah, they backed away. Shinblari was able to make his way towards the north side and say, you know what?
It's an amazing decision, by the way.
The property value of this area has dropped significantly. We're gonna bail. You guys have fun. We're gonna sit here in our nice, spacious acres farm. But the fight continues to pop up between Fiumba and the gas cans. A good grenade to drop Emmy. Surprisingly enough, Fiumba still have 4 up, but maybe that knock might be the knock to finally
he
bring down
can't.
to 3.
He can't see. Wow, still got it through the window. This is out of control. This game is actually out of control. The fact that TSM FTX is also still alive is really nuts. I'm curious if they ran out of utility. Somehow Penta was able to survive all of that.
I mean, keep in mind, it is just Penta by himself. The other 2 remaining members are away from this engagement. We didn't see how this started off, but ooh, with the bottom of the door open, we'll see where Penta throws that. Akreche is wasting a lot of time just taking care of one player.
Which is really good for TSM FTX, to be completely honest. Penta did a great job of surviving as long as he did, because that's actually going to now reduce the amount of time Akreche has to make a decision, which may potentially help the other 2 members of TSM FTX, especially if they try to crash without a lot of time.
Back here onto farm. DraftKings is trying to pull away. With the circle shift where it is, there is, I imagine, a little bit of incentive for both gas cans and Fiumba to not push this engagement too much, which is why we haven't seen a lot pop out. I say that, Nukus might have stepped just a little bit outside, and Silzen comes up huge. Song King as well. So the gas cans, right when I say they're gonna play nice, well, Fiumba take the rug out from under them.
I'm not even sure if they really played that aggressive. I think Fiumba just found some disgusting angles. Regardless, yeah, it's 3 knocks now. It's just Greg's shot. And this is the time to push. If Fiumba really want to take this little slice of farm for themselves, this is the time to do it. It's difficult, especially pushing into these 2 stores. As we know, the barred window is very difficult to get in, especially with the amount of utility and smokes. It becomes very confusing. But, I mean, this is their chance.
See Akreche rolling on into Dignitas. They had just defended from 22 Esports. Fiumba backing away because they realized there's only 1 member of gas cans remaining. Let's try and maintain control of this whole area because they see how many people are sending in onto Dignitas. The grenades are working. Sparking has the shot. Oath is also chiming in with some engagement onto Akreche.
Oath has actually been just super quiet this game just because they haven't needed to really get that loud. I mean, they took control of the Milta side. They have an amazing ridge to work with, and now they're looking on the entire fight. But Dignitas is just writing the book on how to hold right now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. That's the 3rd team now that dissuaded or just straight up wiped out. As Silzen is going to go up and finish up the gas cans, Cammy.
Yeah, Fiumba says buenos to Hikerman and Greg Shot, and that's going to be it for gas cans. It was a long fight, but it does come out with Fiumba on top. 3 members still up, which, all things considered, not a bad result for them. Let's see where the next circle goes, however. Is Farm going to maintain its position in play? And it is, but it is only going to be Fiumba's selection. Now it's Dignitas' job to come right back down.
So the interesting about this as well as TSM FTX's position, they do potentially have a ridge to play on the northwest side of that circle. The problem is they have to deal with 303 and potentially what they're going to do. Meanwhile, Dodge still holding obviously one of the strongest positions in the circles. They don't necessarily have to consolidate, but they could, especially if they want to bet that the circle is going to end somewhere on the north side. SSG is the team they'd have to contest on the south. And then on the east, you have I mean, you have Dignitas, who now has to finally come in, and Oath, more importantly, that has to potentially push into Fumba off that hill. So this is about to get very, very interesting and probably bloody. And what a shot! The bolts are back. Sharp shot, baby. There he is.
Vegas, he said in his interview that he thinks he's the best bolter in North America. Sharp shot is there to contest that. Rails him right in the face, and now that's 2 knocked against Dodge. SSG are pulling on up. This is their Normandy, and they want this compound. They want this flat top. The grenades are come flying on in. Can Halosepa get the revive in time? Either way, Vegas is gonna need to heal up, and Uncivil is already at the door.
Behind you, Civ. Behind you.
They didn't check. They didn't check the corner.
Check your corners.
He's only able to get 1. Not able to confirm that. So now it is just Vegas defending this compound by himself. Roth makes the send over, trying to jump over any potential grenades to get the revive, and SSG still have 4 up. Vegas drops out at the top floor. Maybe he can get an angle. This is such a sneaky push.
Wait, this is huge because there's nobody left for Dodge. Dodge actually, the rest of Dodge, the other duo is gone.
Amazing play by Vegas to completely upset SSG. Roth almost had the revive, but the time was maybe a half second off. And now Sharp Shot is going to go for Uncivil. And Oath have taken position here right in front of them.
More importantly, Oath actually took that opportunity to get this, quite honestly, amazing position here. They do have to use quite a bit of utility with smokes, but now they can actually dictate the pace of the rest of the circle. And the fact that Dodge... it's just so unfortunate for Dodge because they actually had one of the best positions, and if they would have just been able to consolidate sooner, they would have been able to be in one of the best positions, but now it actually might be Dignitas coming in.
We see Purdy right now, lone defender. Triss, the last one remaining for 303 as well. And yes, as you mentioned, the arrival of Dignitas is going to make these 2 solo snake plays very, very difficult. Speaking of solo snake, Vegas still running around, still being a nuisance. Spotted out, down to 10 HP. He's able to heal up, but here comes the swarm of Space Age game. Flash comes out. Keenan's ready to push around the corner, and the pre-fire. Vegas was able to get a knock, but no confirm. As Keenan is getting revived, and SSG are able to stay S3, but this is where Oath's position becomes incredibly irritating.
I actually love the way Oath played this. They didn't get unnecessarily aggressive. We saw their rotations all the way from the north to the east in Milta Power. They then slowly worked their way into Milta. They shot everyone off. They took their time on that hill. Like, Oath honestly played this game with the circle that they were given very, very well. And Purdy is still alive.
Yeah, Purdy is still alive.
He's still surviving.
He's actually peeking out aggressively. He knows Dignitas needs to come through him. And there are a lot of corners that they're going to need to check. But he's been spotted out. Takes a little bit of damage from Fumba. Forced to go back inside the kitchen.
And that's going to be an indicator. That's an audio indicator that someone's getting shot on this side. So obviously Dignitas knows that there's still a member in here. They just don't know where exactly in this house he is.
Well, they grenaded the kitchen. And I think seeing his grenade come back out is going to help triangulate his... Yep, now he's spotted. Forced to go back inside, but he can't leave because of Fumba's position. He has to go aggressive. But the flash, that's going to... Well, deter his plans.
Oh, unfortunate. I was going to say, he did have access to 4 mollies, so he could have potentially delayed that even longer. But even that being said, Dig didn't need to make that push necessarily, on top of the fact that Fumba was holding him. So really rough for Purdy. NT.
Look at the top 4 teams. Everyone relatively healthy. Oath is the only one that has 4 up. And Uncivil, this grenade wants to change that. Forced to prone down.
This is huge to be crossed, though.
To back up. Yeah, he has to get some smokes out to allow the rest of his team to do the same. But this is going to be the big fight for them. Spotted reload, tried to flick onto his head. Wasn't able to find it. And now Dignitas are coming into the party.
Oh, that vehicle's seen better days, and so has Keenan. He's going to get knocked right out of it. And just like that, SSG is in a world of trouble. If they can get a knock or 2 at the very least, no. It's just Sharp. The best bolter in North America. What can he do, Cameron? Nothing. He can do nothing.
Yeah, it was going to be a hard path for them, even just SSG versus Oath. But now when Dignitas, they cleared their space, they were able to peek over. It was, shall we say, almost impossible for SSG. Good run up until now, but now we are looking at the top 3. Tiny Badger trying to take some shots at DeSilzen, who still have yet to leave the hardcover of their South Farm compound. We'll see where Phase 8 goes. It's going to swing towards the west. This is great for Dignitas.
Oh yeah, this is wonderful for Dig. Pretty decent still for Oath, and actually, I think, does Fiumba have a ridge to play? I think they might have a ridge to play right in front of them that might be in.
They got something, but look at Punich's position on the roof.
It's
I
so
think
strong.
that position enough is going to make sure that Fiumba, even if they can get to that ridge, they might need to just stay prone on the ground, unable to put any sort of presence of their own out.
Poon just has to be very careful he doesn't get knocked up there. That could cause a lot of issues.
Yes.
On top of the fact that I think he does have to skirt forward a little bit more, and I'm not sure he can stay on the roof, actually. He may not be able to.
Ooh.
Yeah, they do have
yeah.
a ridge to play on. Yep.
And even Punich's position on top of the roof at its zenith is not enough to look over it. So Fiumba, as long as they can get Emby, the last member there, then they should be able to be safe. Where did Dignitas move, though? Because they're going to have to
Dig
leave
moves-
most buildings of their compound.
They can leave one Honey Badger. I like where Honey Badger is up on the north side. They need to get at least one member to that shack, because that shack is going to be the forward position for them to try to do what they can against Oath, because Oath is going to have to inch forward here in the center of this kind of ravine or whatever you want to call it, this little defilade. So that would not be a bad play. I do like how wide Honey Badger is going, but again, he's got to be very careful of the angles that he might get hit on Fiumba, because they do technically have sightlines on this if he peeks over this.
If there's anyone that's an expert of going wide, an expert of going perhaps too aggressive, it's going to be Honey Badger.
Too wide. Yeah. We'll see, though. That shack still...
Okay. It's
So they
not
are-
being taken. Punich is going towards the north. They are completely conceding the southern edge to Oath, at least for now. They want to put all of their presence onto Fiumba, and maybe they're recognizing that Fiumba have significantly fewer options than Oath, so might as well take care of them now.
This- yeah,
and we can just
this
make
isn't-
this a one-on-one fight for the end. But Fiumba, with the smokes in play, they're going to make Dignitas absolutely work for those opportunities to take them out.
Yeah, this isn't, again, this isn't a bad play coming from Dig. They've just decided, instead of putting focus on Oath, as you said, to Fiumba. The only issue with that potentially is the fact that, again, there's not going to be a lot as far as deterrence going the way of Oath. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, Fiumba is now starting to get some smokes out and utilities coming out, and phase 9 is happening. The shift, this is it. Center is center, and now okay, so Sparking is going to go to the shack. Perfect.
Okay.
I just wanted to see one member go to the shack.
One person, exactly. Oh, that grenade looks really good for Honey Badger. It's going to be Punich's that knocks Xiangjing. A little bit of trade damage coming back. Punich and Honey Badger cannot overpeak too much. They're both going to need to drop down and heal. Sparking is there with the crossfire, with the covering fire to make sure that Fiumba can't cross. But what is Oath doing in the meantime? They are throwing grenades of their own. Sparking down to 19, right in front of the blue.
Oh, man. He's going to take a little bit of damage. He's got to start moving now. He has smoke. Sparking has a lot of smokes to work with, but Bale is going to find Poonage. There's just 2 members now for Dig. 13 kills, though. They've been doing absolute work this entire game. They should be able. They should be able to get Poon up.
Maybe, but at the same time, I wouldn't. Okay, they're gonna go for the revive. They could also use him as a scout to maybe find Emmy and Sills in the last 2 members of Fiumba. Oh, now that Sparking has gone down, Honey Badger, it's all on him. If he can get the revive, he at least has a partner to play with. Emmy's dropping a smoke of his own because they know that Oath is pushing in from the south side, but their attention is still on Dignitas.
Yeah, and Dig is actually in the unfortunate position of being focused by both teams right now. Yes, there's nades going out towards, I say that in Fiumba, Silzens gets naded, but Oath in such control of this game, even though they're back against the blue. There's still a chance, though, for Dig.
Ooh, Punich gets re-knocked. They've taken a lot of damage from the blue, trying to stabilize on the high ground what little bit that they have. The shots from Kickstart ring true as well as reloads. All down to Honey Badger, but the blue is crushing in onto every single team. No one has positioning, no one has cover, no one has presence, and definitely not Dignitas. Fiumba trying to bring it to Oath, but it's gonna be 8 kills for the Oath boys. They come out on top with their very first win. It was a stare down as long as you can ever imagine, but it blew up in a matter of seconds.
You know, and it's crazy because we talked about Oath at the top of that game, how, you know, we know they're one of the best teams. We know how good they are. We want to see more consistency. And I'll tell you what, starting off the game with, the grand finals with a first day win is pretty good. I'd say it's pretty good.
Listen, for the team that is known for putting on win streaks, do we count this? Won the last game and now the first game. Does that technically count as a streak for them? But no, just on your main point of talking about Oath at the top of this game, this was not the game that they generally win. They had to come in from edge. They snuck into a position that was relatively central, but they weren't like on top of a hill shooting anyone and everyone for like the entirety of the game. So what I said about them shoring up their weaknesses seems to be the case.
They had like one circle where they were on that hill kind of shooting at people, but it wasn't incredible. They just had a good position. I agree. They had amazing rotations. The decision making was great, especially when that fight broke out against SSG and Dodge. And yeah, they played that well. I also want to give a very big shout out to Dignitas. The fact that they held farm from 3 different teams and they made it to that end game with 13 kills was very impressive.
Yeah. Dignitas are a very, very scary team when they play in their own wheelhouse, which is just play from edge. Play from edge, get a bunch of kills, play as a unit. And they looked scary on that match. The fact that they didn't get the win doesn't mean that they didn't put up a great performance. So I think we're still going to have a lot of eyes on Dignitas as we continue out this series.
Yeah, also shout outs to Fumba, man. They fought tooth and nail for that southern farm compound, and they were able to get it. They were able to get in a very sketchy position towards the end, and I think did they get second or third? I couldn't tell. Everyone died so fast.
Second
they got.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, they did
by
get
like
second.
a hair. They got second over Dignitas. We saw the ending of that game. It was all wide in the open except for a single tree. But also, let's take a look back at what we had just saw as we get highlights of the very opening game to really get a real sense of what these teams had to battle through.
Well, on top of there was just honestly, Cammy, there was so many teams that just died off stream or off camera because of how ridiculous that circle got. Again, I said it was going to get really claustrophobic, and it definitely did. I mean, we saw teams just getting wiped out. These shots, by the way, from mine were disgusting. This is a quick burst straight to the dome.
Yeah, such a solid defense set up by Sonics. Unfortunately, got cut a little close just because of that great defense by Chocolatitas on their own right. But Dignitas, they were defending from essentially the entire game. We can see once again Sonic's defeat, Sonic's demise, and that grenade that came out from Kill Demo. We were so used to teams cooking the grenades that when it was just thrown out raw, it lasted a lot longer than it expected before it went up.
And the crazy thing is, I think Mime, because he was getting shot, he had to vault in, but there was fire all over the bottom of that wizard tower, so he just had nowhere to go. And then again, Penta surviving as long as he did, stalling a Cresce, but it didn't really seem to affect a Cresce, honestly, that much. They were able to get in at least the next circle. Fiumba, again, just an amazing job defending this compound against multiple teams.
I think defense was just like the name of the game. Everyone was having to push into so many different positions, which sounds like a John Madden call about PUBG, but I don't know. Something about this game really gives me that vibe. So you can see Dignitas taking out TSM, putting themselves in top 4 guaranteed, right before, of course, SSG do go down. Their push onto Oath took just too long to really break in.
Yep, and then the end of the game, of course, we saw Oath doing a really great job with their back against their blue, clearing out all the teams immediately to their west and east, and then, yeah, they were able to kind of focus on the last 2 teams, which was Dignitas and Fiumba. But even still, there were knocks going out. It wasn't necessarily the cleanest, but it was very well done and very well played by Oath.
Very well played. 8-kill chicken dinner for them as they put themselves in a very, very comfortable position. Whether they can maintain onto that spot with another win or maybe even just a whole bunch of kills, we have 3 more games of the day to check out. But still, this is a very, very good sign at the very least to know that this will not necessarily, it's only been 1 game, but will not necessarily be at TSM or Sonics, just complete snowball.
Look, I think overall with this lobby, this is definitely, we said it about PCS4, but even going again into Masters 2, I really think this is one of the strongest lobby. I mean, if we look at just the last day of qualifiers, see the teams that didn't make it, you know, 300, United, obviously, like they're... This is a crazy lobby, man, and I think it's going to be, as these teams, especially the Latin American teams we talked about earlier, get more and more experience against, you know, the best teams, specifically, wow, can't speak English, Sonics, then TSM, FTX, and then your Oaths. Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting one. I'm hoping it's not a wash, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We still have plenty more games to go.
Yeah, we do. But ultimately, this was just a very, very good showing from a few different teams that we might not have expected. I mean, Fiumba have a good number of players that we've seen in the scene before. We have yet to see this exact same combination of them. So the fact that they're able to get up into second place, yes, a little bit of circle love with the compound, but they had to fight for that multiple times. Like, that was not the primary thing on the list of what led to their success on this opening round. I really hope to see more from them. I hope we can see more of 303 because they were also able to make it pretty late. But ultimately, I'm just really hoping we get to see more great PUBG like that.
I agree with you 100%. 303, again, is a team that I talked about at the top of the show. And even though they were crippled earlier, they were able to somewhat survive towards the west side until they finally were wiped out. And yeah, T-Plants leaving that team is actually really interesting to me because I thought that he was kind of one of the stronger players. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens in the next couple of games.
Yeah, 3 games coming up. We have Aaron up next, going to a break. Don't go anywhere.
Meu nome é Guilherme, meu nickname no jogo é RBN e eu sou de Araruama, no Rio de Janeiro.
Hi, I'm Nico Galanakis. I go by Nikos, and I'm from Wellington, New Zealand.
Hi, I'm Thiago Plants, I'm T-Plants, and I'm from Gravataí, Rio Grande do Sul, Brasil.
Meu nome é César Rafael, meu nick é R3 e eu sou de São Paulo, Brasil.
Jogar contra os times da América do Norte pra gente muda sim o estilo de jogo, porque eles têm um estilo de jogo mais agressivo, não respeitam tanto os times quanto aqui na América Latina. Então a gente tem que tomar um pouco mais de cuidado quanto a esse fator, mas a gente vai tentar manter o nosso estilo de jogo, que também é bem agressivo, e só temos que nos preocupar um pouco com a agressividade deles também, que eles são bem agressivos contra times da América Latina.
Meu papel dentro de game é ajudar na bala, fazer os pushes e também, dependendo da situação, prestar o suporte ali, dar o cover pro meu amigo. E fora de game eu ajudo o meu IGL nos comunicados, avisos com o time, por exemplo, chegou uma mensagem lá no Discord, a gente precisa se organizar, preencher tal formulário. É isso.
Our playstyle is really just play AFK for like 4 circles, and then on C4 we just send it somewhere into a game-winning spot and hope to get fed and win for free.
Our team playstyle is like this. If you are in front of us, either you kill us or we kill you.
Just jumped out the plane, don't matter what we landed, cause I'm about to bring pain. You don't wanna push me, John Wick with the aim. Tell my girl that I'm sleep, but I'm really on the game. Real talk, I put my all in this. This the only game I play, and it's obvious. Treat this game like it's really a sport. About to put your boy on the PUBG report.
Oh, he did! You absolute mad lad! It's pans, crossbows, and explosive. You wanna see that? Let's go. Oh yeah! Let's get you leveled up. Damn, my setup sucks.
I did my time, or so I thought. Kill survivor one. Now it's your turn to hide.
Hello, everybody. We are back once again after game number 1, which saw Oath take home the victory. Now, unfortunately, we were not able to get the interview with Snakers because, well, his camera wasn't working and a whole bunch of other things. And I would have loved to ask the question. Oath seems like they're always trying to get that win. Now they've got that win at the beginning. How is that going to open things up for them playing forward now, Matcham?
That is huge, and you're 100% right. Usually we see Oath trying to be the team that's catching up. Them coming out, getting this first victory really opens up the doors for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of people just like hashtag taking the Oath right now. They walked away with 8 kills as well, but it shouldn't be missed. Dignitas, whatever was going on around farm was just a bloodbath, and you can see the Dignitas was just walking away with a ton of kills out of that. Should we just start calling them the Gravediggers now instead of Dignitas? 13 kills off the get-go is good.
That's not too
it's
shabby.
good for sure. And you know, I mean, I want to point this out too real quick. I know we'll probably come back to it in a second, but LATAM had a good showing for that too. Fiumba and Cresce Trogloditas. There's so many teams finding scores that first match. I think this is an explosive start, and we can see as well with this comparison right now between Oath and Dignitas. Their first and second ranking, 8 and 13 kills. The damage though favoring Dignitas. And you know, I kind of want to bring this up for a quick second. You know, Pora, you joked, you said, who are you looking? And I said Oath. And I think it's just because mentally we always see them chase. We see them not really do anything at the beginning of an event or even the beginning of a weekend. So to have a strong showing, it's exciting.
It absolutely is, and it's especially exciting considering that the Sonics and TSM kind of falling a little bit earlier in the lead there. But as you see, Dignitas may not have won that game, but boy, they collected a nice little stack of kills for themselves. How are you going to keep them down on the farm once they've seen Paris? Matchroom, is Dignitas setting up for a run here, or is that just a byproduct of the Dignitas let's kill everything and hope for a win eventually playstyle?
There was a couple of things that worked in their favor there. Oath did a great job of navigating and finding that little dip in the late, I guess the later mid sections of the game, however you want to call that. And kudos to them. That's kind of what denied them a lot of their kills, just because they didn't have the best of vision. On the other side of that, though, Dignitas from early stages just had teams that were just hauling and sending it straight into farm, and they got to be a little bit of the beneficiaries of that. Now, that being said, look at the amount of people that tried to crash that location, and they defended it and got that amount of kills. That's a statement in and of itself. I mean, sure, you get a little bit of circle favor, but having to defend it the way they did makes its own statement.
It's defense. Defense wins championships, Clover. And you were talking a little bit about the LATAM squads, especially I think it was Cresce and Trogloditas, both with 7 kills, mostly off of doing that defense. Are we looking at LATAM teams and thinking, yeah, maybe they have caught up?
I would like to think so. I mean, that play versus Sonics, I know we saw chat kind of get a little bit wild there. It was a bit of a chef's kiss moment from, Kill Demo also putting in some of that work along with Rusty. And I think that that's really what it's going to take. And that, that no second hesitation.
Yeah, it's a rare, well, I mean, Sonics was kind of put in a kind of a crummy position there to have to make a really difficult push there. And Kill Demo, obviously, kudos to him for being able to clutch that one out. Anybody else kind of sticking out to you from that first game, Matchroom?
Vegas. That whole situation that was going around to the side where Dodge and SSG were back and forth around each other, I got to respect. Sure, he did go down in the end, but he did a phenomenal job on making sure to stall out, force a lot of players, getting a lot of attention drawn his way. The issue was at that stage, there was no beneficiary for his team, but the other teams definitely benefited due to that.
Yeah, Vegas has definitely been on one in terms of scrims lately, and now it looks like it's translating pretty well to the regular game. Clover, going into game 2, who do you got your eyes on?
I mean, obviously, Oath looked good. Game 1 felt good for that pick. Let's kind of go with Matt's thing. Dignitas, can they shoot themselves into a chicken dinner the second time? Couple small mistakes. I think they might be able to push through it.
Come with me on the fan. Let's go.
We'll see if Clover's got the golden picks this time around. Worth noting that time around, Oath winning in a farm circle despite dropping in Severny. So it was an Oath circle that they didn't even get they got an Oath drop on. But it'll be interesting to see what the next game holds for us. Keep in mind, this is our final game on Erangel. So let's throw it over to the casters, who will bring us all the action. Cameron Davis and Godspeed.
Yes, welcome back. Second Erangel,
That's
last
us.
Erangel of the first day of the first weekend. Yeah, and it is us. Hello. One more. I am muted in Discord, so Godspeed cannot hear me. Hopefully the chat can hear me. Anyway, we all get one. We all get one. It's fine. We're here. We're back. Erangel.
Yes. Yep, Aragel's the map that we're on. It should be thought I'd get my hair in the same mode as yours. But listen, Cameron, it's all about what happens in this next game and the next 2 games afterwards, if you know what I'm saying. Honestly, I think Dignitas, had they been able to... Oh, man, I think if Dig had potentially been able to put a little more pressure on Oath in that last game, especially from that shack, maybe do 2 players at the shack and maybe have just Honey be solo on the north side, they could have potentially gotten more damage, especially with throwables, but I don't even know if they had much left. So overall, I just want to see Dig get a little more aggressive, even though they were very defensive last game and they were able to get a lot of kills. More aggressive. I want more aggressive.
13 kills? You want more?
13 kills is enough. 13 kills. They got 13 kills also off of defense. You know what I'm saying? And Poro did say defense wins championship. No, all memes aside, I think Dig played phenomenally in that last game. And I just want to see, again, consistency, because we've seen Dig before in the past have a string of good games. The problem is it always comes down to, like, I swear it's like the last circle or 2 where they just can't close it out. But until then, they're pretty flawless most of the time. And yes, I was just memeing. They don't need to get more aggressive. They played amazing that last game.
I know you do raise a fair point. They got 13 kills, which is not uncommon for them, but they did get a lot of those playing defensive. If they're playing on the edge, then they're playing absolutely amazing. If they're the ones actually being the aggressor, which we saw them lean into on the latter half of that game. Honestly, they played great. If they continue to play like this, then they're gonna have a win or 2 come their way very, very soon. I have to imagine. Second Erangel playing once again, pretty fair, pretty even. No complaints.
Pretty boring. I have complaints. I think this plane is awful.
Yes.
I think this plane is absolutely awful. Yep. But yeah, to just to harp on Dig a little bit more, it's not really harping, but yeah, they seem Dig's biggest strength is the fact that they're able to generally get towards the later game almost consistently. The problem is whether it's because they're crippled or because it's if it's a decision they made that necessarily wasn't the greatest, they will just fall apart right at the end. Now that last game, I don't think any of those were the case. I feel like they played really well, and up until the end, I don't think they made like terrible decisions. But in general, Dig does seem to somewhat fall apart a little bit towards the end.
Well, we see phase 1, and I'm sorry, chat. Both Erangels, it's going to be relatively fair circles. We're not getting a Primorsk circle. We're not getting a military base circle. It's going to be nice and even and fun.
Now
which
hold
is great
on
for
a
the
second.
players. Yeah.
This could.
Okay.
This could do something wacky around that river, that Roz River. We've seen the split before, and that split is honestly really awful to play on. So hopefully we do see a split on that Roz River.
Yeah, you raise a fair point. Nothing is ever guaranteed on Erangel. There's always the option of something wacky because of the river and because of the water between the military base and the main Erangel. You can never be 100% positive that it's going to be a quote-unquote normal circle until you hit phase 3. But at least for now...
That being said, yeah.
We're banking... the percentages, statistics tell us this shouldn't be too difficult terrain-wise of a circle.
Now, this game for Sonics, obviously, last game, they didn't necessarily end how they wanted to. That 2-man defense was able to take them out from Trog, but this is a fresh game, and to be completely honest, this is a very good circle for Sonics. Obviously, we've seen traditionally anytime they get something around Pachinki, they are able to stay there or at least rotate to one of the surrounding areas, get a bunch of control, and then kind of snowball the game from there. So, if you are a Sonics fan, this is definitely the circle you want to see.
Okay. NC, RDS, rolling up to this compound just south of Severny. Okay,
Yeah.
I was a little worried if they were going to try and go all the way to Severny because 2 were already there. But no, instead, no chance. Instead is just taking up a lot of positioning north of the river here.
Crossroads compound is also not that bad to loot. You have a priority there. But the other thing is they'll be able to actually get at least... You should be able to get some information as far as like when 303 decide to rotate, especially if they know that's the team up there. I know in scrims there were some other teams kind of battling for Severny, which doesn't seem to be the case anymore. But yeah, no chance is one of those teams that could potentially scout out early rotations from 303.
I mean, I like the fact that they are getting early positioning. Yasnaya is a big city. It has a lot of loot. But if they can loot up elsewhere and get positioning at the same time, that's just a very, very efficient use of their time, as well as resources. Let's look over here on the SSG, who are also leaving Milta 4 minutes on the clock. Actually on the rotation earlier than Sonic, so it's a little bit of a new situation, but still, they should be rotating in. Not too much difficulty for them. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's going to be a pretty slow early game.
Be honest with me, Cammy. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate when you're honest with me.
Yeah, I try to. But, sometimes you got to feed those little white lies in, but this is not one that I'm comfortable in saying. I don't see very many opportunities for a team to quite go aggressive. On the map, we did see some firing between Trimsy here and the rest of Veritas, and we do see TSM sort of driving up in tandem with Troglodytas. This might be a trap that they could pull.
Yeah, TSM and Trog, I noticed this as well. There's not like a massive threat to this. Trog can just come down to ruins, which basically they're doing right now to kind of rotate safely from the sightlines of Everest there. But I mean, even still, we've seen this from TSM FTX before as well, taking a high ground position, getting as much information as possible, feeding that to Purdy's massive brain, and making the decision off of that. So overall, Trog will be fine. They don't even necessarily have to move, and neither does TSM. So I'm actually curious to see if, especially if this does shift towards the west, whether both of those teams, well, I'm pretty sure TSM would stay, but I'm curious whether Trog would try to get a different position or go deeper into ruins.
Dodge now, rotating up. SSGU flying right in front of them. Finn is trying to go for the angle. Mosin Nagat's not gonna... Ooh. Okay, nothing in the kill feed. But hey, once again, you gotta take those shots. I put a little more faith in a Bolt than I do with Penta's Tommy gun from last game, but still, you gotta take the shots.
True. That's just because the Tommy gun has no range.
Yeah, that's
like
nothing against Penta. Nothing against Penta. It's the Tommy gun that I'm trying to flame here, but okay. All right. SSG, they're just going straight into Pachiki. So Sonic suddenly have neighbors.
They have quite a few neighbors actually potentially dodged now on the other side of the field, also kind of scouting this out. And this is kind of the issue for Sonic's potentially, is if this does shift down towards the south, what's going to happen is that Pachinki is going to get a lot more busy, especially if Sonics want to rotate out potentially, especially towards the north. They might have some issues, so we'll have to see. But I can tell you right now, Pachinki's getting very busy already.
It is. We have a couple other teams. I think you mentioned Dodge. There's also Young Kings driving up from the south. But here, there is a crate coming down in between Akrache and Troglodytas. And those few shots we saw flying in, that was from TSM. But now Dodger rolling up. Lampalot. Does he know? Are his spidey senses tingling? He has a grenade ready, so yeah, he must have spotted something, must have heard something, or maybe got a call out from his teammate, but the grenades are passing each other, and Lamp is just gonna pull away.
Yeah, there's no need for a Lamp to risk anything here, to be completely honest, even if he just wanted to get some information.
But I will say... Oh, we saw a couple of shots coming from the rest of Dodge, but I think Lampalot is going to be able to get out of this.
I do like that play from Dodge, though, simply checking to see if Pachinki Hill was open, because if it is, that's also another very strong position, even in this circle, even though it's a little more to the south, just because of the amount of sightlines and information you can gather, plus the fact it does open up a decent rotation to the west.
Yeah, unfortunately, now that they're not able to take that hilltop, their access to the west is... it's a little kneecap,
It's not great. Yeah.
If it does shift that way, does shift towards Georgia Hole Mountain, they would have to either go all the way up through the north and try and deal with the River Rossock sort of interaction, or swing down to the south and you've got Kings sort of position to just continue to hold that. Not to mention Fiumba and Gaskins have now rolled up. It's going to be a bit of a difficult cross for them. So yeah, I agree. A good attempt to try and find that. Unfortunately, weren't able to get it, but Lampalot is still going for more space. Instead, he's going to find refuge at Potato Hill.
And this is what you want to see an IGL or just someone on your team doing, right? Like, you want to see them looking for active ways for what's next. Obviously, this is the first circle. Obviously, a lot of these teams, in fact, every one of these teams is in the circle, right? There's no real threat. And so this is just a waiting game. But while it's a waiting game, I love teams that are more active, that are more proactive, deciding to go for, as we saw Lampalot do, looking for different angles, looking for more information on where other teams are, looking for potential rotations after the next circle. So yeah, this is exactly what you want to see from one of your players.
Spark King jumping around, hopping around, gets spotted out by Oath. So he's going to hop into his vehicle. And
it's a beautiful day
either
in
move
Oregon.
out, he could stay put. Dignitas, they seem to be fans of their widespread positioning, but no, they're going to pull away from that. Another team's presence on the east side was never a guarantee, and now that there is a team there, no need to overcommit. It is only Circle 1, but there's, as we saw for the previous game, there's always a risk of a fight breaking out way before you would want it to happen. But they do give this position up to Oath, who might be able to look to pressure their advantage even further, or rather, make an advantage off of it.
Right. Well, that and the fact that these circles, Kemi, are actually potentially the most dangerous because you have everyone so comfortable for so long, and then as soon as that shift happens, you have 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 teams that have to move. And in that case, that's when the crashes start to happen. That's where desperation starts to come in, especially in a circle like this where it seems like there's a lot to play, but most of the teams have already carved out a decent spot on where they want to play. And the biggest issue with that is, again, although there's space open, rotating and getting there is the biggest problem. And as we're going to see, that shift is not conducive to a lot of rotations at all. Actually.
Yeah, as you mentioned, basically, if I can summarize, more options equals more possibilities, which means that your game plan needs to be even wider in circles like these. And so hopefully these teams have an option for this circle shift towards the west. It's the circle that we talked about wasn't going to be great for Dodge, so I'm sort of eyeing their rotation. They are going to have to go down towards the south. Fortunately for them, Fiumba are already Fiumbaing themselves out of that position. Young Kings are already getting out of that position. Sonics, though, contesting against Young Kings are actually... They're just pushing straight into the PGC. I thought they were going to go further west. No, they want this building.
Oh! Oh, Pablo.
All right, and one. What are you going to do? You're going to stick around? You're going to stick around with this? Because Sonics are making you pay for it.
And here comes the second vehicle, and that's going to go straight down the stairs, and that's going to that's another knock. That's wild.
Oh, this is... Hey, Sonics, they have the lineup, and they're making it look so easy. They haven't confirmed the second knock. And we'll see if SSG want to capitalize on this engagement that Sonics have found themselves in. It looks like Anduin is going to get revived. Why? Cuz is on fire. He's burning alive. And now here comes the push from Tiggleton, checking the corners. Wants to stop the revive, and he's going to be able to find it, but no! The revive came up just in time. Fortunately, Mime is there to still make it uncomfortable.
But the trade was also there for Sonics, and that was beautiful coming out of Hwin, as he's now going to battle the last member, and it's going to be Shrimsy. Beautiful. That you want to talk about playing for trades? That was textbook there. Tig went in with the first peek. They went for the res. Sure, he got knocked, but his teammate was right behind him. It was perfect. The other thing is that actually gives Space Station so much time to decide how they want to potentially entrap Sonics in that flat top prio combo, because there's really nothing else around those two buildings.
TSM, they got the shift in their direction, but they do not want to stay on the high ground. They have an opportunity to get even closer to center, and they are going to take it. Not to mention, they had a few teams getting a little too uncomfortably close to them on the mountain itself. 303 and Akreche. 303 don't stay up there, though. I think the pressure from Akreche is going to pull them back down onto the garage building of their own. I doubt this building is going to stay in play for too much longer, but they're at least going to stick around at least for a few moments to maybe gather their information.
Yeah, probably not. I actually want to point out as well, SSG, they, instead of deciding to get aggressive on Sonics, they opted to actually get a really strong position in the circle, which is another really good play that they could have made. So they've secured potentially what is center now in the ruins at, I believe, that L right below Troglodytes. So definitely pay attention to SSG and what they can do from that position.
Dodge's
Meanwhile,
rotation.
Dodge.
Yeah, rolling on in. But now they are coming across teams that they have been trying to avoid. Gas Cans with an angle. RBN from Akreche also with an angle, and he has his teammate there to play as a duo with. But they're not going to stick around. Pull back just a little bit, because again, their main goal at this moment is to find a better position for their squad, for Akreche, that doesn't have the mountain in between them and the center of the circle. This does push Dodge out into the blue. And that compound still isn't inside. This is very, very uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable, and I actually really like this. This is somewhat risky for Gas Cans to do with that split, but they've left those two members on the southwest side in order to specifically do what they're doing now, which is cut rotations of teams that are trying to come in from the south and the west. And so because of that, they've actually pushed Dodge north And now they can consolidate and really hold them out, considering the compound they're in at Gatka proper is no longer in. So I really like this play from Gascans. I just hope that they don't stay too long and potentially mess up the split.
You saw them sitting in their vehicle, but I think, as you can see on the minimap, it is on the move back here to the east side.
Love
22 versus Veritas, having to leave ruins. And we have Oath in the way. They're only in a small little crater. Not a big wide position, so who knows with a single grenade how much damage that could do. But they are still in the way between Veritas, 22, and safety.
And Veritas now is still having to work through these waves. And this area is very good to fight on foot for the most part, but there's also a wide open cross that neither team has made it across. And oh, look at this!
There it is. There's the angle. A little bit of trade in return, but Vinny gets the first knock on to kickstart.
Oh,
Veritas,
this is in a lot of trouble right now.
They kind of just hang out. They are. And you can see the cavalry from 22 rolling on in.
Beautiful. Veritas though, technically has all the cards in their hand right now. They could spoil this fight for either team or both.
Ooh, that grenade looked good. It's going to be Rocky's grenade on to kickstart to confirm that knock. And now Oath are officially down to 3. But you can see 22, they're not entirely comfortable with this because they don't have a lot of cover themselves. If they peek, they can easily get taken out in return. Flashes are coming in, though, to make those peeks just a little bit easier, as well as grenades onto Balefrost's position. It's up for the forward 2 members of Oath to put up the primary defense here. But it's going to be a utility game still for the next few moments.
And Veritas, again, as you said, they really haven't done much yet. They're just kind of hanging out, waiting to see what happens with this fight. But I love the aggression from 22, man. This is what we've been wanting to see from a lot of these LATAM teams, and that's absolutely what we've been seeing the last couple weeks. Oh, look at this.
It's on to Snakers. He's trying to defend it by himself, but it's not going to be enough. 22. But while they've been pushing onto Oath, Veritas have struck. And you saw them recognize that there was a second team in their midst, but there wasn't much that they could do, and now it was all on to Vinny, posting up a 1v3 defense, potentially 1v4 as Danny G is going for the revive off in the distance. He's trying to catch out himself with the mini.
This is winnable for Vinny. I don't want to count him out. This is very winnable. It's 1v4, as you said, but with the blue coming in and all that pressure, he still has a good ridge as well. And Veritas has thrown a lot of utility already.
You also see shots coming in from both Sonics and SSG, giving Vinny a little bit of covering fire, a little bit of Guardian Angel. Send some shots over the Vinny, doesn't get the knock.
Huge.
How close are they getting?
Nice try.
The smoke allowed Lobes to get up and personal. Able to take that close quarter combat engagement, and now Veritas are able to push their presence throughout the rest of this round down to 13 teams.
Veritas did get that position ultimately, Cammy, but I'm curious if they could have gotten more kills, honestly. I feel like they potentially could have gotten way more kills on both 22 and Oath, but regardless, they're still alive. They got the finishing blow on 22, and they're in a good position.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
They're going to have to move in through a couple of teams that are now in their way. The circle has centered up, still further away from that edge. It's not exactly a field in the middle, but there's not nearly as much cover as there is right here with no chance Troglodytas. And then, of course, versus an SSG just past ruins, and 303 needs to break through all of that. Akreche as well. You saw them just a few moments ago, a few circles ago, try and look down towards the south, but it does seem that the east is going to be the direction they're going to have to move from Georgia Pole Mountain. That's GSM in their way.
Oh, Akreche coming in. Are they going to drive past? Nope, they're crashing.
They have a member on the angle. I think that's RBN there trying to send some shots towards Luke, and that's going to give the northern, or rather the other 3 members of Akreche, a quick opportunity to get into the compound, get their heels rolling, and try and stabilize their position. And uh-oh, here comes Dodge. They want in on this engagement as well.
My goodness.
Finna rolling on up.
It's just straight in. Oh my goodness, just straight in like that. Not even stopping on the other side of the hill to potentially walk up. And Finna can't get out of the car because there's fire underneath him.
Oh, Purdy's got to hold up a defense. Lamp tried to go through using the bike seat itself, but it wasn't going to happen. Now Alo strikes.
So huge, using the underground.
You don't often see that, but they're holding up the defense. But while that's happening, Luke is having to hold against the entirety of Akreche by himself, proning down, but he is immediately spotted and taken care of. So that's Akreche continuing to push their own presence in from the northern side, and that means the survivors of TSM going to have to deal with Dodge because they know that more threats are coming. That's going to be it for Vegas. That's going to be it for Dodge, annihilated by TSM. But look how close Akreche are already.
I'll tell you this, it's definitely not bad to wipe out a team just to lose one member like that. Luke, though, was so far ahead that there was no opportunity for trade or really any support, so he was potentially going for a hero play there, but still 3 members of TSM FTX alive, and this compound is, it's interesting to fight around, to say the least.
Yeah, they can get spotted by a lot of teams that are other areas in the circle, assuming that they're not in engagements of their own, because there is still a big conglomeration of teams in the ruins area. But Alo jumping on the roof, he spots a few of them rotating around, doesn't go for the engagement, waiting for a teammate, because they know that they have a man disadvantage here.
Potentially as well, just trying to get as much information as possible, maybe not wanting to show the hand on the roof, and what a beautiful grenade coming out from Purdy.
Swinging from the side, trying to get some more, not going to happen, but another grenade in his hand. That is 2 knocked for Akreche. Gonna have to try and get some trades in return to have an opportunity for the revive.
And I love the aggression. This is exactly what they need to do. They know they have 2 knocks, both potentially getting reses. Another re-knock there from Alo. And now this is exactly the pace that they want to push against a crippled team.
Just one left for Akreche. Peeking around the corner, shooting through the broken window of the vehicle. Able to find an angle and get the confirm onto Purdy, but it is still a 1 versus 2. Sorry, 2 versus 2, because the revive onto VHC happened. It shocked me, it shocked TSM, and they go out. Akreche are the victors in this engagement, able to stabilize this 2, but back here over towards Ruins, where it's been a battle royale within the battle royale that is Battlegrounds.
Well done. Well done, Kemi.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly has been going on. It's been 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams all fighting each other. 303 are still in a healthy enough position. No chance having to push on in. They have 4 of their own members up. A lot of smoke as cover, but Stone Storm out in the open. He's going to get dropped. He's going to get taken out. And no chance to fight through multiple teams, not just 303, but also Veritas, who are putting up a defense of their own.
Veritas with 1 down and 1 knocked. No chance potentially coming in with the opportunity to wipe out Veritas. It's just down to JR.
Oh, down to JR. Oh, down to Junior. New member of the squad. Flashes are coming in. He is in the wrong position of a team sandwich here. He's going to be
put a rock in a hard place. Yep.
Now, no chance. Their push of destiny is coming out on top. It's coming out victorious. As that's 303 also taken care of. Fiumba deleted in the kill feed. And now we're down to 7 teams. Chaos happening from the previous circle on every single location on this game. And because there's not a lot of cover to fight for in the center of the circle, everyone is fighting for positions around the edge.
Yeah, and you talked about it earlier, Cammy, that it was mainly open in this circle, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Dig is going to go out. They really had not much cover. And it was actually Sonics coming out from that position that they had held earlier to devastating effect, and now they have so much control. I mean, it's crazy to watch game after game, except the last game, obviously, but Sonics always find themselves in these positions around the edge are very favorable to just work the terrain around them and just wipe the teams. I mean, their rotations and foresight is really out of control.
Yeah. And now with seemingly every other team fighting here on the north, it's going to give Sonics so many potential opportunities to set up camp before anyone else has even arrived to the campsite. But no chance. They're still pushing. They're still wrapping. They're still going for fights, waiting to see if anyone peeks. Not a lot of cover, but they do have the cover of silence. That's not going to be there anymore. They find the opportunity. That's going to be T-Plants going down. It's going to go down to Shrimsy. That's actually a totally different engagement.
No, I respect it from Balkan, but that was just too risky after the shots came out. And no chance. Just had no chance of surviving that engagement, unfortunately.
Yeah, you got to give it up for Legusto for the bravery of trying to take that fight. And that was really the only thing they could have done, because if they just tried to run through the trees, they surely would have gotten spotted. So definitely
well, they also could have potentially held them out, because if they could have used that, because they were also against the blue, they could have waited for them to come out of those two stories and then potentially gone for an ambush. But you know, they decided to go loud, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for them.
Yeah. Hey, hindsight's 2020.
Sure.
There are so many options that any team has to deal with in this game. I'm sure you can, yeah, like take a thread and the entire sweater can come apart if you really want to start to analyze it. It's all down to making the best decision that you can in the moment.
And Sonic's the only team right now that are currently in this circle, which means that it's trouble for pretty much everyone else. SSG, at the very least, do have something that they can come up on as long as they don't overcommit towards Sonics. But as you can see, I mean, Sonics, all of them are looking in that direction as Roth is driving up.
Yeah, they got to take this fight. They got to find a little bit of cover on this hillside as Versus are coming right into SSG's old position. So the timing, well, we'll see if it's good or bad for them, because that backfill also could mean that they put themselves in a really bad position. I think it's going to be the latter.
It did.
As Jupe 7 lights up onto Uncivil. Tickleton there onto Sharp Shot. It's falling apart for SSG. Rock in a hard place. A team in front, a team behind. Not a lot of cover to deal with.
Yeah, honestly, I think the only thing SSG could have done there is just wait a little longer for... Oh my goodness.
It was Mime that got the kill, but we're going to give it to the Buggy anyway.
Man.
And now Versus with 3 up, with this area given to them by SSG's demise. How are they going to play? Are they going to have to do this, go the same direction that SSG felt forced to?
They will.
And that seems to be the case. Yeah, they're going to have to push up into the Sonics.
At the very least, they don't have a team behind them. That was the biggest issue for SSG, which is why I said maybe SSG should have waited. They should have waited to see if there was a team coming in from the north, which they knew because they heard the fighting. And that way they don't get backfilled, which is exactly what happened. That being said, Versus, great job realizing that. They've now got a position where they can somewhat fight Sonics. And it's just gas cans now holding up in the center of the circle, which if they can survive, Camby, are probably in the stronger position, I would say. However, it's just the surviving aspect that's going to be really the issue.
You say that like it's
Position's
so easy.
Great, you know? Position's great, but surviving is,
It's a big ask, but I think it might just work out because Sonic's on the only high ground that's really left in this game, looking for the angles, trying to peek and peer over the rock, over the vehicles, are just not able to find the lineup. So I think Gascan's position might just be survivable. That is, of course, until we look at where Phase 7 decided to shift. Hard shift towards the east. Everyone is going to be on the edge. But the high grounds that Sonics have, they're not going to have to leave that anytime soon.
Yet. You know what is really good for this circle, Cameron?
Yeah?
That crate is dead center. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's also covered potentially, so I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe saw a member from Gascans go for it. We'll see. Normally, I would say...
knock.
Yeah.
Onto Mime. Immediately, Sonic's going for the revive, and immediately the utility is coming on in. That one looked good, but it's a flash, not a grenade.
It's a flash, yeah. I was like, if that's a grenade, that would have been beautiful.
Yeah.
But even still, Versus is they're not in a bad position, again, to fight Sonics here.
Good grenades. That's Mime going down again, and Artre gets the knock on H-Twin. Mime's trying to answer back with his own post-mortem grenade. That's Artre going down, but it is still under Shrimsy and Tickleton. Both very, very low on HP. Shrimsy's going to burn alive, and it's all on to Tickleton. 1 versus 2. Do they know of his position? Do they know that he's behind the vehicle? They do now. They absolutely do now, but he's still able to land the shots. Tig. That's still Tig coming out on top, but it's now Tickleton versus the world. Tickleton versus Gascans, and they are on the push. The Gascans, they saw the fight in the kill feed, they heard the engagement, and they are taking space, taking land.
That's crazy. Wow. I'm not even really shocked at the end of that game. It's
that's it.
Gascans did an amazing job of just sitting and surviving, really, and then realizing that it was time for them to push and take that away from Sonics. But that what was it, a 1v2 I think against Versus that Tig just had behind that vehicle was that was disgusting, because honestly I feel like Versus should have had that, but Tig is Tig.
It was a really, really good opening on that engagement. Good usage of utility, and Artre's own positioning for that initial peak right when the fire disappeared, right when the smoke disappeared, to even deal as much damage as they did to Sonics is a really, really good sign for yet another, this one relatively new Latin American team, but it is of course going to be the Gascans that came out on top. Definitely taking advantage of the chaos of the eastern side, but that is an important skill to have as a PUBG team.
But I mean, let's also just talk about the Gascans real quick as well. I mean, I talked about that split earlier. They had to hold out Dodge from the south and the west, and the way that they slowly moved into that circle. Because remember, they had multiple teams in front of them as well. I believe it was a Cresce and TSM FTX fighting. And instead of going to third party, that they decided to go down into the field, which obviously isn't great. But they had multiple vehicles. They used it for cover, and yeah, they positioned themselves to win that game. And because of that, they did. Also, it didn't help that Versus had an amazing fight against Sonics, and it definitely doesn't hurt that, you know, Tig was able to turn that around and basically make it a 1-on-3. So overall, still very well played to Gascans.
Yeah, I mean, while it is 2 North American teams, with the 2 wins so far in this tournament. If you want to talk about Latin America getting better, while of course we watch over the highlights and get a sort of review of what happened in that game, one of the things that a Latin American player, and I forget which one it was, mentioned about this regional combination was North American teams rotate so much faster than Latin American teams. I don't know if you can say that anymore. The Latin American teams are getting better in their own right on finding good positioning quickly in these games.
I feel like hesitation is the biggest thing that was holding Latin America back, and I think a big part of that was, again, because of the fact that I feel like every time we used to mix regions back when we weren't a combined region, it was always Latin America struggling against some of our stronger teams, right? I feel like now with the constant practice and obviously the events being consolidated, we're really starting to see like I don't want to say a resurgence of Latin America. I just feel like they never really had a chance. But now it's very apparent that the players and the teams coming out from LATAM are contenders, man. And that fight as well. The decision making from Versus on SSG and Sonics alone proves that, in my opinion. For a new team to come in and take on 2 of the strongest teams in NA, yeah, very well done.
Creche win the fight against TSM. No chance on their amazing push here through multiple different teams coming in from the weak side of that engagement. Here's the fight that we did miss, where Fuma get absolutely roasted by Dignitas. But now another repeat of, well, Versus approach onto Sonic's position. Here is the 1-2 punch from Tiggleton, going for the revive. But the gas cans grenades were here just in time to... Yeah, and there they are. Bam!
It was Nico's. That was... So far, so good, man. These games are very interesting. This is not the stomp that we potentially thought it might be, at least yet. I mean, obviously, Sonics are going to pick up quite a few kills.
Yeah.
That being said, they still haven't won a game.
It's only been 2 games.
It's only been 2 games.
2 games in a row. Second place, or rather third place. The highest points, the highest kills don't get the win. But this is still, I think you got to say, everyone's game. So many teams are playing so well, at least so far in the tournament, that like Dignitas, they're going to get their win if they keep playing like they have been. Sonics, if they keep playing like that, they're going to get their win. Gas Cans, that win you can't really rely on because it was really good positioning, but also only 4 kills. There's a big argument that they didn't have to go up against that much contention throughout a lot of that game, and that's not something you can rely upon too much. Sonic's defense against multiple squads, being able to pull that off is something you can rely upon.
That's true, and also, yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the gas cans things as well, it's possible that, you know, TSM, had they not lost the fight the way they did, they would have poured over and potentially taken something over on gas cans. But yeah, ultimately, I think their positioning, their decision making was really what was honestly kind of the game winner for them. But also, I want to talk about, again, Dodge. Although they didn't really make it that far into that game, watching Lampelant do what he did and look for the position, on top of the fact that they took the safer rotation to the west, at least as safe as it was going to be, trying to find their way in. I'm still really impressed with what Dodge has been doing over the course of the last couple months.
And we'll see what they can do in the last 2 maps of the day. We have Miramar coming up next. Gonna go do a break, but before that, check out Tago. You asked PUBG Listen. There's a new 8x8 map available to play on PUBG right now. Codename Tiger, also known as Tago, set in South Korea during the 80s. So while we go to a break, definitely check that one out, but be back because we have Miramar coming up next.
Joey, wake up. I want to play some PUBG, man. Joey, wake up, man.
Yeah, I'm
play
ready.
some games.
I'm ready to play some PUBG, man.
Hello, everyone. We are back once again after that Game 2 victory coming out of Gas Cans, and we have Adam here to talk about that one. Adam, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. Well, that was not a very typical Gas Cans win there. You guys pretty much got to sit back and let everybody kill each other, but in the end, you know, being able to go and get that rush and getting the kill on the Sonics, how is that going to be setting you guys up to play the rest of these? Is it going to be a lot easier now that you know that you've got that win out of the way?
I mean, I guess getting that win early definitely helps, like, going into the later games, but at the same time, like, we still know that that win was kind of given to us. Like, we didn't do much that game. I don't think we even took a 4v4 fight or any fight at all in that game until we needed Sonics at the end. So really, we just got to keep playing our game, and know that we know that we can actually take those fights and win those fights. So when those games do come and those opportunities come, we just have to take advantage of them.
There you go. Matrim?
All right, so start off, shout out to Nikos for getting all of your team's kills on that one. And also, good to see you. It seems like I keep seeing you across a whole bunch of different games. But I have a kind of question for you. You've kind of taken over the leadership role with the squad. And the way the Gas Cans has kind of changed, it's morphed into a different playstyle. Can you kind of give me an idea on what the new, I guess, method to the madness is for how Gas Cans approaches the game?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, myself as a player, I like to kind of take everything into steps when I like go about the game, when I think about the game. And so everything that we do is kind of done in like a step-by-step basis, kind of like using our information, using the knowledge that we have of the teams around us, and kind of just reacting based off of that. And the whole goal of our playstyle is to figure out how can we keep 4 men alive, get to late game, give ourselves a chance to win the game. Or it's, if we can't keep 4 men alive, we can't get to late game, how can we get the most kills to make the most out of the game, right? So it's kind of just thinking about PUBG in a very simple way and just playing simple.
Works for me. All about keeping it simple. That's my method for life right there. So kudos for that one.
He is a very simple man. Clover?
That's true.
All right. Well, speaking of keeping it simple, I'm going to try my best to do that here. Obviously, now you've kind of got some time playing this format under your belt. You know, we got to talk to you quite a bit during PCS4. Does that make things for you a little bit easier for you guys in the team? Like, do we, you know, kind of piggyback off what the boys asked you earlier? Do y'all really feel comfortable playing like this, approaching the things differently? Is that making this an easier, I guess I could say, decision making for y'all?
I think we feel comfortable as a team for sure. We're really getting a good groove with Greg Shot now, and understanding kind of how he wants to play the game, and he's really just fitting in well with our playstyle as a whole. And that was the whole idea of like picking him up. So, you know, there's still, with every team, there's some things to iron out, which, you know, we still have to work on. But as long as we know what we need to work on, then the improvement's going to be there.
Thank you so much for that interview. Did you have any shout outs that you wanted to give before we let you go?
I mean, no, not really any shout outs. I mean, shout out to you guys. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. So, yeah, keep it up.
I wanted to give a shout out to you. I want to give a shout out to your brother. Do you scoreboard him very often on how much better NA is than you these days?
I mean, in most interviews, I kind of, you know, give a little knack at him. So I think I'm just going to leave that out in this one.
Fair enough. Well, we'll let you get ready to get into game number 3, but congratulations on that win. Look forward to seeing the Gas Cans play the last couple out here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Well, all right. Yeah, I mean, he pretty much said it. That was about the easiest win Gas Cans probably has ever gotten in their lives. They didn't really have to do a whole lot, and nobody really pressuring them at any point in time. But at the end of the day, you still got to win those.
Hey, in fairness, Tig just absolutely destroyed a squad that was approaching him a second ago. So Gas Cans took the opportunity at the perfect time to catch him whenever he had his pants down a little bit right after that res. That's the way you got to strike if you're going to take down Tiggleton, right?
Yeah, and I will give credit. We saw those circles. There was a lot of open spaces. Gaskins had the long rotation, and I think that they waited. They took things slowly, and I think it allotted them, as we say, things went their way. But I had they just straight W keyed, it could have been much worse for them that match. That's fair. I guess while we look at these overall leaderboards and get ready to go into our two Miramar games here today, man, I gotta say, I think we came into this expecting Sonics to just kind of blow everybody away, Matcham, and so far, that's two straight up fights that they've pretty much lost. I mean, yeah, Tig clutched it out at the end, but I mean that's a fight that you're used to seeing Sonics win. Yeah, I mean, grenades do grenade things sometimes, and shout out to the Gas Cans. That's a pinpoint throw, and that's at a pivotal moment. So again, I know we're kind of talking about the fact that it was a little bit of favor with everything that happened, but Gas Cans did control that side and forced everybody to fight on the other side, so there is some benefit to that. But I do agree, it's been a lot more quiet. Sonic's making it in the later game, but TSM feels really quiet right now. Lower? Yeah, I think we used to think TSM and Erangel being good matches, but these circles haven't necessarily been ones that historically TSM does well on. That said, I mean, Alo, once again, putting in work for Kill Leader. We saw that in the group stages, and it's starting to reflect here in the finals. Also, shout out to Versus. They took a very strong fight earlier in this, and I was very impressed with the way that they handled the entirety of it. Yeah, that was a really good fight that they pulled off against SSG. Very well timed and very well executed. But and look, I'm not trying to lay into. I know it's only been 2 games. All right, it's 2 games. That's you got to get your shots when you can. Yeah, look, they're gonna right the ship. The ship's not even wronged. It's just, I mean, they've got a boatload of kills to go along with no wins. But it's just, we'll see what happens. I would not be at all surprised to see Sonics come in and win one of these last 2 games. But the thing that we were leading in, and the reason I'm kind of talking about it is because what we were talking about at the beginning, how this lobby ends up and how these PGC points get distributed and how this money gets split really feels like it has a lot to do with how Sonics and TSM do, Matt. Well, okay, we're in a 3-day event per week, so that's kind of the easiest way to look at it. We're in a little bit more of a marathon instead of the sprint. I know we've been watching a lot of the Olympics, and it's good to see everybody just charge in, get their medal very quick and fast. But whenever we look at everything, I think that there's more opportunity the longer that it goes on, and these are 2 very stable teams. Like, just because they're not getting the chicken dinners now, I don't think that long-term we're going to be like, oh, silly TSM and Sonics not getting a chicken dinner in 3 days. I don't think that that's going to happen. If anything, it feels like it's taking time to measure what's going on around you, because we do have a lot of new Latin American teams that play differently. Similar players, but when you mix up a rosters and you stick them together on a new team, that team is going to play differently. Well, I want to piggyback off that point because I think that the Latin America presence is bigger. When we look at ESL 1, when we look at PCS 4, this right now is the best first day showing I think we've seen for LATAM. I think we've seen some fantastic fights that have come out on top. Already 2 games in, I'm really looking at Cresce. And you can sit there and say even, Trogloditas Versus and some of the other teams are starting to make these really good plays. And that comfort, especially when we move forward to Miramar, could spell our first LATAM chicken dinner coming up. True. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising at all. And obviously, again, still basing this off 2 games, but just based off the eyeball test Matchroom, they look so much better and so much more confident, really, than we've seen them in the past. Yeah, and even whenever things don't work, and I think that's a pivotal thing to notice right now. If we see somebody that's trying to make an approach, like I think that it was No Chance in the last game whenever they were trying to make the push into the building, and it didn't go well for them, but the premise behind it was established. If they keep that mindset and then figure out whatever went wrong and reapply it the next time they try to make that play, that's the big thing. Don't get scared and go, oh, well, it's never going to work. Don't ever try it again. Go, okay, why didn't it work? Pull that apart and then try to do it again.
Well, we are getting ready to head into those second half of games. The first game here on Miramar. I know you guys are excited to see who's going to come out on top. We'll see if any of the top teams can right the ship going into the end of the day. But let's take it over to Cameron Davis and Godspeed to bring us the action.
Miramar! You either love it or you hate it. It's an exciting map. I'm ready to see what's going to happen. Looking at the numbers, as well as my own memory of previous events, I do say Dignitas, despite being like the potential sort of protagonist in, well, rather America's PUBG, they don't do very good on Miramar. So I feel like we might have to wait until tomorrow or the next day before we see them really get those wins. On the flip side, Troglodytes, they've been pretty quiet, relatively, for their expectations. Miramar is the map that they traditionally perform better on, so I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Troglodytes is a scrappier team, and I feel like Miramar sometimes can lead to scrappier situations, specifically because of the terrain. But also, you know, as the death said, and we even said ourselves, it's only been 2 games, right? It's only been 2 games. Sonics, TSM, like everyone's still feeling out this lobby specifically, even though they've had scrims. Sure, it's completely different in the competitive setting. So, with that being said, yeah, Dig technically haven't had the greatest of Miramars, but I actually think Dig has fallen apart the most on their final circles. Like when I talked about Dig having issues and not being able to close out, I feel like Miramar is the map they actually tend to get to the somewhat end game more consistently, but they just can't close those games out.
Well, we'll see.
So we'll see. I really want to see if, I just really want to see Dig come through and show that consistency, because I am starting to very much believe in that roster, even more so than I did in PCS4.
Yeah, like
which is why I'm harping on them so much. I know.
I know.
I
know exactly what you mean.
It's
you just have to
good.
Listen, just remind yourself, this is a team that this group of 4 players has not been together as long as the other top dogs have been. Oath has had virtually, like, they've had no change since the beginning of the year. Sonics have had no change since last year. And TSM, same in the Oath category. Dignitas, compared to those 3, relatively new. So maybe this is the event. Like, hopefully this is the event that they're really going to sort of rise to the occasion and really get everything clicked in and locked in, because it doesn't happen all that quickly in PUBG.
No, it doesn't. And I when I say like fall apart, I feel like that's the wrong like terminology. It's not that they fall apart. It's always just like 1 or 2 like little very small decisions that cost them like a player or just the squad. Yeah, but they definitely don't fall apart. That's definitely not the right verbiage. But looking at the plane, looking at the map, again, Cam, for some reason you and I are just getting very vanilla. Los Leones.
Ooh,
why?
Maybe not so vanilla.
Maybe
there's not a lot of water.
But it's Leones, and Leones becomes such a, for lack of a better term, shit show when Circle does end there. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, most of these teams are going to, at the very least, can we be able to rotate in from the north? Probably we'll see some teams go wide and go out to the east. They'll get in Circle. I am curious to see, though, if the northwest starts to become more of a choke.
There's a big question here, because I've always been a proponent of don't go into a city unless you absolutely have to.
I agree.
But Los Leones is such a big city. It's such a relatively big percentile of this circle, and it's dead center of this circle.
That's the problem.
So I wonder if we're going to see even one other team join up with Veritas and Fiumba, who, by the way, I'd be surprised if they just 100% bailed from Los Leones. They're going to be chilling on the outskirts, on the the suburban development areas, not in city center. But I don't see a reason why they would want to leave. But we could easily see Dignitas, No Chance, who are down to the south, even Oath, who are to the north past La Bendita, sort of joined them in Los Leones.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been the issue, right? Is the fact that because Leones is so large and because it's the center of a circle, a lot of teams will generally find themselves thinking, oh, we'll just come in and then we'll leave when we can. The problem is they don't really get to leave because everyone else will have the same idea. And that is what causes these city endings, or even just the city circles that shift away, to be so problematic for rotations. Because from the onset, from a very quick perspective, it's safe. We can just go and chill there for a little bit, and then we'll be able to rotate out. Problem is again, most teams have that idea, or at the very least are waiting for teams to rotate out because they know a lot of the teams like to situate themselves like that. So for that reason, it becomes very claustrophobic very quickly, but we'll have to see. I mean, it could shift north, it could shift away. We don't know yet. But as far as the first circle, yeah, it's going to be a slow roll for the teams that are in and potentially problematic for the teams trying to rotate in.
Yeah, I was going to ask, which would you prefer to be? A team that's in Los Leones and has to sort of make that same decision, or a team like Dodge,
I'd rather be on the
like
outside.
Gas Cans? You'd rather be on the outside. You'd rather be in Dodge's and Gas Cans position. Even though there's a big chance of there being a lot of fighting so early on the edge, where everyone rotates through the same 2 or 3 roads.
Yeah, you know, it sounds really dumb, but I honestly feel like rotating in is much better than rotating out. And so that's the approach I would take, even if I was one of the teams on the outside. And Emmy, my goodness. Disgusting shots onto Balkan. And that's at a bus, by the way. Those are notoriously hard to shoot people out of.
Yeah, they're super slow, but they have a lot of defense on them. And this is Fiumba actually leaving Los Leones. They're full bailing. I saw Emmy come out here early on. I thought it was just maybe to find a little extra loot, maybe do a little bit of a 2-2 split of their own. No, but they're actually full leaving Los Leones. So I guess Godspeed, you do know what you're talking about after all.
Maybe sometimes. But it's also honestly just preference, right? Like some teams like playing in the city and they don't mind rotating out or taking their time or finding other ways. But yeah, for me, and at least for the teams that I always played on, we would generally kind of wait to go in because getting trapped was kind of the biggest issue. And through experience of getting trapped and getting wiped, it doesn't feel good.
Well, one of the first teams rotating in is going to be the Sonics, and they're actually already over to Impala. They're going past the middle. They understand that there's a lot of teams that are coming through Picado, through their loot spot. Unfortunately, this rotation is not as safe as they were hoping because Punaj and the rest of Dignitas are set up to try and guard the eastern coastline. Not a lot of damage so far, and fortunately for Punaj, Sonics, they just keep on driving. They're not going to try and stay and take this fight.
Another interesting fact, actually, Sparking, Honey Badger, and Poon have taken the top 3 most damage from the zone, followed by some members by Oath. 124 damage, 86, and then 60. So huge shout out to Luke, by the way, for all those stats.
We're seeing a couple of rotations, and despite a few shots that we've already seen at passing vehicles, no one has tried to post up and actually take a fight just yet. Not to say that it won't ever happen. We're still looking at maybe 5-6 teams to make their way inside the circle. And a few of them are taking long wrapping rotations. TSM are going to the Eastern Highway, not far from where Sonics are currently set up. You got SSG coming in from the Southern Highway. But we're looking at a few teams all coming in through West Los Leones, Rocky area, and that could sort of break out into an engagement.
It could. I also really want to point attention to Sonics as we just saw them on the map. I mean, what they're doing and the way that they're clearing out even Circle 1 and being how proactive they are is, again, what really separates, I feel like, Sonics and some of these other top teams from the teams that are trying to come up. The fact that they're being that proactive this early is showing that they're trying to already control that side of the circle, which is really wild considering how large that circle is. But because of the terrain and information that they have, they're able to do so. I mean, there's really not going to be many teams. They know there's going to be probably 1 or 2 that rotate on the east side. They'll probably be able to bully off and then completely take control from there, rotating inwards. So it's just decisions like that. I mean, if you're really trying to understand why Sonics are so good, watch what they do in the early game. Watch how they are being proactive.
Well, we did just see Akreche try and post up control of their own on the western side, dealing a little bit of damage to 303, taking out one of their members. But of course, Tris was able to retreat from his vulnerable position. And now Akreche, they're going to continue to push on through at least some of their members. Don't want to hard commit to the edge so far. It is still phase 1, remember. And now here comes TSM rolling in from the north side. You can see Sonics. Luke 12 should be able to spot them out. Maybe see a little bit of movement in the bushes. Like to call that information out to his teammates as, well, Alo and Purdy. They're going to be on the forward push. But yeah, they're going to try and avoid Sonics, try and find their own position, squeeze on through.
TSM FTX are really just actually taking their time for the most part, and I like this. As we see, most teams, you said, are starting to find their way into the circle, and yeah, we actually didn't get many hangups as I thought, Kemi. I thought we'd have way more hangups potentially on the north, or at the very least the west, like the northwest side. But yeah, that road right next to the Church of Los has been pretty much open. It's just 303 potentially watching what maybe Versus coming in. We'll see.
A big part of that is teams have been really good on their timing. It hasn't been
Agreed.
2 or 3
Yes.
teams all rotating into the same location at the same time. It's been one team goes, the next team goes, which the teams don't discuss this. It's all about the teams knowing where they have priority over. And in TSM's case, it's like, oh, well, there's going to be a team in front of us. Let's delay just a little bit. If our calculations are correct, we should be able to sort of give them time to move on through, and then we can move past.
There's also little things like feeling out the lobby, but yeah, for the most part, they see the information that they're, what's in front of them, and yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think, again, kind of going back to my little Sonic's rant, it's really about understanding the terrain around you, and then potentially what teams like to even rotate in that area, or like what would be the best rotation if you were a team north, right? Like Sonics knows that they just narrowly missed TSM FTX because of that, and I think map knowledge is so massive, especially in these stale circles when you're jockeying for position without even fighting another team, if that makes sense.
Not a lot of fighting. Not a lot of
there's not a lot of fighting at
real
all.
tension here. Yeah, Young Kings are coming in from the north, and after that, it's going to be everyone inside the circle. And even though there's a little bit of water in play, even though Los Leones is such a big presence in this circle, it is still phase 1 on Miramar. You got to keep that in mind.
I mean, this bad boy could go all the way south. You know what I'm saying?
It could. But no, it's going to be all the way towards the east. This is great for TSM, who are now virtually dead center. What it's not great for is all the teams west of Los Leones. I can't imagine how difficult it's going to be for them to rotate through. I could see a team like Gascans going all the way out into the blue, but all the teams on the south side, this looks like a very difficult rotation, at least from my perspective.
From the south, yeah, it's not necessarily great. Plus those, I mean, aside from just the main road on the very south, it's kind of hard to rotate in because of the terrain as well. On top of the fact that you have multiple teams set up in that area. I do actually, we briefly saw Young Kings coming in on the north. They should actually have a really strong position as well, but here we go, TSM, FTX. Luke is going to take shots at Dignitas as now they're trying to hold this compound away.
Dignitas, they were lacking information. They were seemingly unaware that TSM were in this position. However, Shinboy's approach, you saw how he was able to angle his vehicle and use it as a shield while he peeked over that ridge. Very, very well done, and is probably the reason why he didn't get taken out. If you look back a year or two ago when teams scouted out, that Shinboy in that position would have been absolutely dead, but this just shows how much better these players are getting at using the mechanics of the game to their advantage, and so that fight's not breaking out. However, we still have more potential engagements popping off as Dodge posting up on the high ground, seeing a couple of teams rotate by, Troglodytas, and now even potentially Veritas if Lamp wants to go for these shots.
And I agree with you 100%, specifically on the point of Shinboy. If that was the Shinboy a year ago, I agree, he probably would have got knocked there. But honestly, that kid has improved so much. And I've said this time and time again, especially him and Punage after PGIS. I mean, I feel like they have become incredibly strong players over the course of the experience from that and everything else this year. But yeah, I definitely enjoy watching Shinboy a lot now. But a year ago, yeah, he probably would have died 100%.
But yes, Shinboy a year ago, but I also just mean any player a year ago.
In general,
because...
yes. No, I know. I just wanted to make a point about Shinboy.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. He's only been getting better. Him and his ex-Zenith teammate of Punage, of course. No chance. Right behind Akreche as they come in from the south side. SSG going to be in front of them as the first team to come in from this exact location, this trajectory, as it were.
And Akreche is the team of 3 letters, by the way. If you notice. Every member of that team has 3 letters. Very confusing sometimes.
Even Kishin and Rubino truncated their names down to 3 to match LFP and VHZ.
I actually hate trying to call their names because I get so confused. But yes, all very solid players.
I was kind of worried that was going to be a fight breaking out on the south side, but no. Akreche and No Chance are both spotting the potential engagement pulling away. However, over here on the north, Young Kings are ready to take a fight. Gascans, the Gascans Diaspora all across the field. It's a pretty good hold so far, but they have a couple of teams that are going to be following and trying to backfill in the location. So this 4-box spread by Gascans could get capitalized upon, could get activated upon by 303 or Versus. And they can't really move much further, though, because Young Kings, as you can see, are directly in their way, making it very difficult for them to really set up a nice engagement pushing down towards the south.
Yeah, on top of that, I mean, if you want to talk about teams that are kind of an issue for 303 and Versus as well, I mean, so is 22 Esports. They're also chalk up there in the north. Young Kings actually got really fortunate with this shift because they were super far north when this was when we were still in Circle 1, but they were able to kind of take this really nice position. And that being said, I also really like the spread from gas cans, to be completely honest. And that's not even the worst for them. They can consolidate into that concrete compound. And do a little bit of damage, if not set up a rotation. The problem is still Young Kings, so we'll see how that plays out for them.
Do we worry? Oh, we saw that map. That was a really rough, hard shift. Veritas are looking great, 22 looking great, but do we have to worry about unplayable? I feel like there's a number of rocks that the circle's going to want to shift of that cut right through Los Leones and Gas Can's field.
Yeah, this is actually kind of awkward because it's really quite mountainous. Like the terrain, it's not very conducive for vehicles at this point. So a lot of these teams may try to play on foot. At least I'm talking about the teams obviously in the circle, not the ones that are still trying to rotate in. But even then, it might be difficult for them as Troglodytes finds a knock and a flush on Lamp and Dodge.
Dodge driving straight through Troglodytes territory, and they're going to make them pay for it. They find 1 kill. They have their eyes set onto Dignitas because well, they don't need to push through that area, but that could be where they elect to get into the circle through. Sonic's also trying to move away from this, but here's Dodge's rotation. This was their goal in mind the entire time. So now it's Sonic's turn to try and deal even more damage to the boys in orange. That is going to be Hallow by going down to Mime. Confirmed by Alo, so that kill is going to go over to TSM. But that is still Dodge dropped down to 2.
And Sonics have almost set a trap here for not only just Dodge, but all the teams that are potentially trying to rotate past this point. And that's what I was talking about earlier when they had kind of scattered out and really took control of most of the east side. That's why they're able to kind of just do this somewhat out in the open, is because they know exactly what sidelines are kind of dangerous to them, and they know that no one's really a threat. So again, Sonic's kind of imposing their will in the circle. Meanwhile, Akreshe still not quite in, but trying to dictate rotations from the other teams, specifically 303.
We're in the pit. We got to see Sonic's approach onto Young King's compound, Young King's building. It's a nice incendiary, nice Molotov to finish YCuz to get the first full kill for Sonics against Young Kings. And now Tickleton has the compound, has the building, has the hard cover.
Finna gonna find 2 on 303 off in the distance, but this is such an important compound to be fighting over, Cammy, simply because of the fact that after this shift, they will have so much room to work with towards the west. And Vegas
pulls up a defense. Nice engagement against Trisk to take that kill, and now he can revive his only remaining teammate. Back onto the Sonics versus Young Kings. Grenades are still coming out from both sides, from both squads. But the man advantage still remains on the Sonics side. Where's this one going to go? Is this going to make this fight stick? And I think it is. Sonics don't need to pull away from this one, but the few teams that have tried to go into Los Leones, they're going to have to now retreat.
I will indeed. And sorry, I interrupted you for a second, but I really think that compound and that fight is incredibly important for the rest of this game. Whichever teams wins the Sonics fight between them and Young Kings is potentially going to go on to win this game.
That just speaks to the difficulty of this terrain, the difficulty of how the teams are even going to approach with the few teams that are already buried in on the mountainous top. And so, this compound, as you mentioned, very, very important. Looking over to Versus, we have no chance sneaking up onto this area. It's T-Plents here lying in wait. Spots RDS. He's waiting for the rest of his team to deal some more damage before he reveals his position, because it is a little vulnerable, but Dignitas' approach is going to pull no chance away, and they're trying to holster the first defense on the far western edge. Shinbori goes down. It's all onto Honey Badger. They were sparking off in the distance for Dignitas, so they are not completely demolished now that that scent has been stalled. But here comes the grenade.
The problem is they
turn to swing the bat, and that's not quite a home run, but it's a nice second base, third base run for
the issue for no chances, they got to still move in, and so does Versus, to be completely honest. Versus is not safe, so to speak. They will have something to play ahead of them, but towards the next shift, they're pretty much going to be out of options. So although holding out no chances is going to be good, I'm really hoping at least someone on that team, hopefully Artray, is looking to see what they can play next.
Jube trying to line up the mini. See any final stragglers from No Chance. Fortunately not able to get the revive, and that's going to be Cable going down to Sparking, actually. It's Dignitas that are putting the rest of No Chance in the grave, as Sparking the lone player striking with a vengeance, but the Sonics push onto Young Kings. They haven't gotten any more kills, but they have taken more ground, they have taken more territory, and TSM has also joined the fight. Smoke everywhere, making sight almost non-existent.
It's so frustrating when you're stuck in smoke like that, but I mean, Sonics is exactly that. They're stuck in smoke, and especially with TSM FTX coming out over the southbound, peeking over that ridge, this fight has even gotten more important for whichever team manages to make it out. It almost looks like TSM FTX might be the one to hold out the winner of this fight. We'll have to see. But I love this position for whatever team is going to be able to survive this.
Ooh, good flash. Publix tries to run away onto the balcony, and he has a little bit of crossfire coverage if Sonic want to push him in that area.
Very risky, though.
And that's even just from Young King's own positioning.
Yep.
Not to say anything for TSM's own sightlines. So Sonics having to be very careful, and very careful they are. They are not overcommitting. They are not over-pushing this. They're waiting for the circle, again, to make a decision on what they are going to want to do. And finally, this compound is no longer in the game. The only compound in play that I can see is held by 22.
Yep.
In fact, that's the only full team that's in this circle.
But look at TSM FTX position there. Off of that shift, they can now just very comfortably rotate in the other two members towards where Penta and Alo are, and then just hold out whoever wins this fight. And that position that they're then playing on, they can cross the road, and they have pretty much all the terrain that they want to work with. So it's really down to Sonics and Young Kings, Cammy, to just figure out who's going to potentially be food for TSM.
Sonics need to get rid of Publix. But to get rid of Publix, they need to get rid of And1. This is such a great defensive hold by Young Kings. But that's why grenades! Oh, And1 can't get away from that one. His foot gets caught on the railing. And now this gives Singleton an opportunity to push out into the balcony, but it's going to be more grenades, but the grenade in his hand is what's going to allow Publix to get the knock, get the flush. So it's, oh god, it's all happening back and forth. Sonics do come out on top. Young Kings are eliminated with the help of TSM. Tickerton has gone down. Sonics still have 3 remaining, but now they know that TSM are in the way between them and the circle.
The question is now, what does Sonics do? I mean, I'm not going to count them out. We've seen Sonics come out of some pretty ridiculous situations before, but TSM FTX has such a strong hold. And Sparking, speaking of hold, is trying to hold on to threads of life. He's the last member alive for his team, and he's not going to get it Civ. He's going to find the kill and wipe on Dignitas.
Sparking survived for a little longer than I expected, but he is unfortunately going to go down to the hands of Uncivil. Now it's 10 teams alive, and I have to imagine with a circle like this, we're about to lose 3 or 4 at the very least in a few seconds. One of them might just be Sonics or TSM, as Sonics are trying to approach TSM's hold. And Mime getting around, having this crossfire, sneaking up from behind is amazing. Able to get 2 as well from this position, running away with 17 HP. Giving opportunity for the rest of Sonics to slam the door
on TSM's run. I said it was possible for them to do something off that position, and it was Mime's beautiful flank. But I also really want to point your attention towards gas cans. They are hearing all of this fighting, and they made it from their compound to the road ridge right across, which potentially could also take control of this game if they can just kind of cripple whichever team comes out of this now in this 2v3 against Sonics and TSM FTX. Oath also have crossed.
With their own difficult sending, I can see it in the distance. I see an AWM. So now Oath are going to be salivating at anyone who comes out of this engagement here between TSM and Sonics.
Oh, and now TSM FTX knows that Oath is already set up across that road, and a position that all of a sudden was so good is now starting to become a detriment to TSM FTX, as it's just Purdy and Luke 12 left.
Exec's unable to hold on the push from the entirety of Fiamba by himself. Now the circle is closing. Gonna fall away from this edge even further. We're gonna be ending in the field. Now the gas cans have been laying in this entire time. Veritas versus Fiumba. Fighting over this rocks, fighting over this high ground, fighting over territory that is no longer in the circle. But how can Veritas get around? They can't really just go over.
If anything, they would... It's rough. They'd have to make the decision to probably push the team right under them, to be completely honest. Because if they do try to go north, I mean, they may not know that there's a team north, but they would assume, right? Especially with how many teams or how many players are left alive in the circle and what's available, there has to be a team north. So Veritas has to make the tough decision of basically just scaling down this mountain and fighting what they can.
Sonics are trying to get rid of TSM, but Oath are in the way, but Silzen spots Oath out. This could all fall apart for any of these teams on the south side, and utility usage is looking amazing, as well as, of course, Emmy's own mini 14s. That's TSM taken out in 8th place. 7 teams remain. Sonic still need to cross the road, and kickstarts on.
Right to the chest.
Oh, another one through the throat, through the neck. It's not going to be the knock, but it's still more damage. He has to fall away to heal because Fiumba are trying to deal some damage from their own high ground. And Snakers is already on the rotate. Relo's already on the rotate. Emmy on the drop.
Emmy will make it down safely, rather safely, but now Oath in a very precarious position. Sonic's still in a position to punish. 3 members still up. Wime just has to heal. It's really gas cans. I want to know what's going on with gas cans and what sidelines they have, if they're being held by potentially 22 and why they can't get involved in this fight.
Well, H-Win, he definitely can get involved. Swinging around the side, kickstart up, hiding behind the vehicle, but that's where Fiumba comes into play. Silson takes out Relo, goes to Shrimsy, and it's all falling apart for Oath. They had such a strong position, but allowed too many teams to get positioning around them. And now that Veritas has been removed, Sonics are still in this, crossing the road. And now it's up to Fiumba.
And I do believe gas cans is actually being held a little bit by 22, which is why they're not getting as aggressive. So unfortunate, because that's potentially kills coming out for gas, but 22 and actually Versus really gatekeeping that. But Sonics is just cruising right now.
They're
3
still
members
in it.
still up, still in a very strong position. This is a position that I said would potentially win them the game. So we'll see if that is the case.
They've had to fight through like 3 or 4 different teams, and they haven't had to do all the kills on their own, but still surviving through the chaos is absolutely amazing. The fact that they're still able to come out with 3. They didn't lose a single player post Young King's fight. And now they have a little bit of a ridgeline to use for cover. But how much is that cover going to last? Because it's all open field. Young Kings are holding position. Gaskins are holding position. 22 have the last remaining compound. But unless they get the shift, they're going to have to cross the road, same as the Sonics.
Yep, that shift was pretty telling, and it.
Well, 22 can stay in the compound. They have a building that's inside. They have that little northern fence that they can stay behind. So if they want to stay defensive, stay conservative, they can wait for all the other teams to fight it out. It's really going to be on the gas cans to have to move. They have vehicles, but where possibly could they send it to?
I'm not even sure the vehicles are in any driving state though, simply because they were being shot at from Versus as well as 22. And now I'm wondering if Sonics are even going to let them go. Because the problem for gas cans and Sonics obviously is the fact that they're both of these teams have their backs against the blue. These vehicles, at least maybe 1 or 2 of them is still decent. I think that Murado and maybe that Bronco are decent. But even then, if they can make it to that ridge, if they can make it to where one of those crates is even, they can use that as cover at least from Versus. Sonics just have to make a straight up push on foot through this terrain.
T-Plan's going down. This is a good start, but the blue pushing in forces H-Win to run essentially out in the open, but 22 are not looking in their direction. They're so focused on gas cans, as well as their own revive, because one of their players, of course, also got knocked.
And Shrimsy, you gotta find another knock.
Find another one, yeah, but Gaskin's also finding a location in the circle. No one's been shooting at them. Everyone, with the few knocks that we've seen, has been so distracted trying to stabilize their own positioning. That's allowed Gaskins to get inside. But now what can Sonics do as they're up against the wall, against the buildings themselves? 3 versus 3 if Vinny doesn't get revived.
It's crazy that Sonics have even made it this far, to be honest, across that field. I thought for sure they'd get knocked. There's a knock coming out from Haze 10 onto Quinn. And another knock from Raji. Wow, Mime is going to get straight up flush. It's now 1 member up, 1 member knocked for Sonics. Cammy, can he do anything about this Shrimsy?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not looking good. He has a bunch of different teams looking at him. He's still not even in the circle. He's got to pull out something ridiculous, and the shots just aren't landing where he is wanting them to. Still, 8-kill run from the Sonics. It's been a pretty good game for them so far. He's able to edge out of position. No, it's not going to happen. Rocky's able to have the sight line, and now they can focus on the rest of the circle where Gas Cans and Versus have been fighting it out. Gas Cans absolutely coming out on top. T-Plans don't go that way. That's more grenades coming your direction. At least stay behind the smoke. At least get the revive on one of your teammates that you can.
Oh, and that pretty much seals the fate of Versus. They have to take this fight with Gas Cans and push forward. If not, then it's pretty much going to be a shooting gallery for even 22 Esports at this point, which is still technically in.
Versus need to crawl just a little bit further, but I don't think 22 are going to give them the opportunity. Artre goes down. Shoot through the smoke. Oh my god, he's going for the revive. Jupe 7 is going for the revive onto Artre. They want to stay up as 3. They want as many resources as they can get. Whereas 22, they don't need to worry a thing. Their compound is still in this circle. They're going to have to go across the road, which is why you can see Hazelton already in position to try and gain control of the final point of the circle. But they can leave a few members on the high ground.
They need this, though. They need Haze 10 or another member to get an off angle, because right now Gas Cans has the winning position, so to speak, as far as the circle is concerned. They have the most cover for the most part. They even have a Ridge is blocking a lot of the angles from Versus, and on top of that, they have 22 Esports watching Versus for them, so they don't even really need to get that aggressive on them. So realistically, it is the onus of this game is on to 22 Esports and what they do with this position or these angles that they're trying to get onto Gas Cans.
Haze and Vinny, they're already setting up shop. A couple of smokes are dropping for defense against Gas Cans because their current focus right now is Versus. They know that they are the weakest team. None of them are in the circle just yet. T-Plants going down is going to make their push even harder. They've already used up a lot of smokes, and here comes the blue. Yeah, good knock by Artre, but how much further can they rush? You don't have time for the revive. Oh, they're actually going for it.
I actually respect this play. I mean, you might as well. The problem is they need to continue to throw smokes. Yeah, Juve if they have smokes, exactly.
They've used so much already for the past 2-3 circles combined. Now they're having to run out in the open or crawl, as it were. But Juve in the blue for a minute. T-Plants might need to prone down, but he's already been spotted, so it's not going to do much for him. It's all into Jupe 7 right now to snake this out for Versus, but he's just going to go loud. Gets a knock against Biznaga. This makes it look even better for the Gas Cans as the 4 versus 3. Flash comes out, but he gets flashed to zone. Hazen zone flash, and he's going to want to peek over onto this, but Vinny go down to high command. Hazen has to come up huge, but he takes a lot of damage, forced to prone, forced to heal. Anytime 22 peek over, Gas Cans have the answer. They have the lineup, they have the shot. We're waiting for the last 3 members of 22 to leave the compound with the blue at their back. And they were forced to use smokes in order to make this passage safely.
And it's looking so good for Gas Cans. They're playing their zone perfectly. They have the control. They're smoking for themselves, even though it's technically not even necessary at the moment. They're just preemptively making sure that this game is absolutely in their hands. And it is. And Gas Cans will take another game. But really, the MVPs for them had to have been the devastating damage that was dealt just before Versus went out. Honestly, I feel like that's really what stopped 22.
Again, this is 2 games in a row that the Gas Cans didn't need to do much during the mid game. They found themselves in an advantageous position. They just played it low, played it slow, didn't overextend. As you mentioned, throughout the mid game when they were in that field, Versus had a lot of angles onto them. And any other team in that position, I wouldn't have been surprised to see maybe try and push out a little bit, try and fight back. Sure. But instead the Gas Cans, they played more conservative and they waited for the opportunity where the advantage was flipped. And they were able to take the win off of that.
I also think the saving grace for them was the fact that they had I think 4 vehicles total, so each one of them had a vehicle, and they were able to at the very least hide the Murado and the Bronco, so they had 2 vehicles to get out of that. On top of the fact that, yeah, you know what? They didn't get a lot of kills in either win, but the point is they're making the right decisions. Again, it was the decision last game to kind of stay on the West and hold those rotations out. It was the decision in this game to kind of hold on the East and not overextend and play that road ridge earlier, which potentially could have gotten them naded and killed. So for me, it's really still just really solid decision making that's propelling Gas Cans in these positions to win these games, even with not a lot of kills.
Yeah, and I think probably watch the highlights. We can see at the very end a little bit of criticism onto 22, as even though once Versus was taken out, they seemed a little scattered, and the game plan wasn't exactly there for, okay, how are we going to take on the Gas Cans? Because you saw them peak sort of individually. The high ground South duo wasn't really there to give much support.
I think the biggest issue was the fact that they got knocked, and there was a lot of damage that came out from Versus. That was actually what kind of halted and stopped 22 from making the plays that you wanted. Because we saw earlier that they had tried to, this was, by the way, this fight in this compound between Sonics, Young Kings, as well as TSM FTX was just out of control. I mean, there were so many different moments where I thought one or the other teams would have gotten wiped. But very impressive stuff to Sonics to even make it as far as they did, Cammy, because yeah, they had so many odds stacked against them. Obviously the and Oath's hand as well. But man, Sonics played the hell out of that game.
This was a very, very chaotic, complicated fight on the South. Everyone had sightlines onto everyone else. So if you replay that multiple times, Sonics are not guaranteed to come out on top, which is why I think this was still a solid game for them.
Well, I mean, even if
the
the shift was even a little more favorable to Sonics, I really felt like that position could have been the game winner for them. But yeah, overall, I feel like Gas Cans, the way they spread, the way they just kind of took their time, they didn't get overly aggressive for kills, which I would have loved to see. That being said, they played it safe and they played it smart, and I have to commend them for that, and they deserved that win. Honestly, they did. 22, though. They did try their hardest. They did. Had some really good moments in that game. They had a good amount of kills, but again, yeah, it was Versus, the last member of Versus that kind of just threw a wrench in the plan of 22, which is getting more aggressive onto Gas Cans, and allowed them to push up and get even more damage and essentially close out the game.
Good job for 22 to milk that compound for as many points, as many kills as they could have, but really it was Gas Cans. They had full control throughout. They survived despite being in between two different squads because they were aware of the angles that they had to work with. And they kept 4 up and just did not allow 22 to cross that road and to get into the field that they had staked a claim on. Match standings, Gas Cans, 2 wins in a row.
2 wins in a row. I think, though, for me, the story of today so far, at the very least, we've only had 3 games, can we? But it's LATAM, man. All the LATAM teams are showing up in a different capacity, and it's different teams. I cannot state how much I love to see these lobbies start to really be more competitive and less so like, oh, there's a few teams that, you know, maybe just kind of squeaked in. Now it's like every team in the lobby is here to compete, and specifically in the LATAM region, and I'm loving it, man. I'm really loving it. I think it breeds good competition.
Yeah, despite not making it far placement-wise in that game, Fiumba had their second place because of the amount of kills that they were able to put up for themselves. And again, in this format, kills only used as a tiebreaker, but those tiebreakers can be very, very important, especially because at the moment, again, only 3 games. I know we keep saying that, but Gas Cans, they keep soaking up win after win after win, at least so far. If that ends up being the case, then those tiebreakers are going to have to be incredibly important.
Yeah,
it's been a number of different Latin American teams that have shown up.
Exactly. And essentially, yeah, it is a tiebreaker. But honestly, how many times have we seen, especially in other PCSs, not even our own region, where it really does come down to kills, just period. It's more so the spread of wins is so vast that, the kills, it's good, man. So far, it's been pretty good. I can't complain.
I can't complain. We have one more Miramar coming up next to round out the day, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
What do you know about him? What has he told you about his plans?
What you are about to see is real. The battlegrounds, the Russians selling chips and putting them in the back of people's heads. The breadcrumbs are out there, man. And I'm the big bad wolf scooping them up.
Yes, my friend. Everyone is searching for themselves.
We have a lot known for Squad 4.
Flayed Malhotra lunch meat, Angeli, the blue chips offline, all of them.
Will you embrace who you're meant to be?
What does he want with Garagan?
He wants it for his game. Or will you die?
You would rather go extinct
than to ever leave.
We're gonna crack this open. We're gonna expose it all. Mysteries Unknown is coming back.
Believe it.
Hello, everybody. We are back once again after game number 3 is done, dusted in the books. And I am here with the 4th official member of our analyst desk, since he keeps showing up so much. Adam, once again, the dream start. 2 wins in 3 games.
Hello again. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hello again. Hello again. Well, Clover, I know you had a burning question that you wanted to ask this time.
Yeah, all right. We've got one more game today and obviously the rest of the weekend ahead. How are you guys going to approach this now that you feel like you might have found the winning formula, winning 2 in a row?
I mean, we just got to keep doing the same thing that we're doing, right? It's that game, simple again, like I kind of explained last time. Keep 4 up, get to end game, try and close it out. So just keeping to that. Hopefully it works in the next few games. Obviously a little bit of circle luck will help, but we'll see what happens.
Adam?
Thanks.
Well, fancy meeting you yet again, Adam. I know we got Professor Poro over here, but I'm going to ask for a little bit of Professor Adam. Whenever you're looking at an in-game circle like that, when you got to send it and there's a lot of teams that are around the outside, when you're looking for a safe point to play from, what are the qualities that you look for to really propel yourself into the late game? That way the players, people watching, can take that home and apply it into their games.
I guess the main thing about the positioning that you try and take as a team, the main thing you got to think about is like, does that position give you, does it have extensions to it into like further into zone? Is there lines that you can kind of take out as options and kind of give you a way to kind of work into zone? So from the position that we were at earlier in the compound, we have a play into the field, we have a play across the road, we have a play out to the west. So there's multiple options for us there. That's basically what you want to look for, is a position that gives you options.
There you go. Position to give you options, chat. Take that in your games and you will win everything. Just like Gas Cans continues to win today. Congratulations once again, my dude. We'll let you go and get ready to get into game number 4.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, what can you say? I mean, 2 wins in 3 games. That's a hell of a way to start your tournament. And I mean, look, I don't care what he says. You play so much differently, Clover, when you are up 2 games already. It opens up so much more.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a little bit of room to make mistakes. Additionally, on the flip side, I mean, we've seen they've really been focusing on keeping 4 up. They've really been focusing on position versus kills. They can go into this last game now, sit back, not necessarily worry about the chicken, and just worry about placement on the leaderboard, getting those kills. They could just frag out, have a 12-kill game, and that will make a huge difference.
I feel like Matt might be distracted here.
I am distracted.
Oh God.
Hi. Yeah, no, she's not usually allowed in here, so she's she's freaking out a little bit.
Those are the biggest puppy dog eyes I've ever seen in my life.
I
She's
know.
ready to
She
go.
always looks so sad.
So this is our unofficial fourth on the analyst desk here.
Yeah, no offense to Adam. I think I like Yamato here a little bit better, but
definitely better on camera. 100%. Let's be real.
So what do you two think? You think they're gonna kind of open up their play style? Maybe we'll see them chasing kills a little bit more. I mean, to be fair, the 2 wins they've got a little bit lower on the kill count side.
I know. This is the point where you step up and say, all right, we got 2 victories. We need to go ahead and try to get some more kills. That way, if anybody else manages, like let's say Oath picks up another one, Oath not sitting high on kills either, but you got to keep an eye on Sonics and Dignitas with those kill counts and the capabilities that we know they can pick up 2 chicken dinners.
And the capability is absolutely huge, not only just in previous ESL events and PCS, but the group stages as well. We know that these teams are just one really good game away from taking the leaderboard, and as well, the potential to have those multiple wins. So I would take a look at the kill leaders, though. Fiumba, 22 Esports, with Raji Rao, Hikerman, Sparking Mime. I mean, we're still seeing LATAM keep the presence here.
Yeah, pretty respectable little spread there on our kill leaders after 3 games. Take a look at the damage leaders. H-Win right there up at the top with Shrimzo and Sparking, Draft King, Rajuwao. That's 3 Latin American players if we're keeping score.
No Tickleton on damage leaders for that round. I mean, it's a big game for H1. We saw him having a lot of performance, specifically on that approach up the hillside. That was so rough for them. And let's be real, that was a hard push from Sonics, but you got to respect it. What stood out to me, though, was really VS. The way that VS took those infights was so strong.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do when you're stuck out in the middle of a field like that towards the end game. But, they managed to still get a lot of work done, add a couple of points there as well. Gascan's doing their best job to clean that up, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Sonics, once again, just in a bad position late game that I guess we've gotten spoiled, Clover. We've gotten used to seeing them fight their way out of impossible situations so many times that we've kind of maybe gotten desensitized to how really good it is for them to get out of those spots.
It's only day 1. They're just getting warmed up. They're getting a feel for the lobby, and I think we know what happens when they get comfortable. I mean, again, we've seen some play style shifts from a couple of these different teams. We're seeing a couple of them really slow down, and I think that might be catching Sonic Sakar just a bit. But with that in mind, I can't discount them just yet. I've especially going to this last match, it could be the time.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would be willing to discount Sonics or TSM at this point, but we did kind of brush over it in the graphic there, match. We were looking at the comparison between the 2 third and fourth place teams, Sonics and Dignitas, seeing how well they're actually doing despite not getting that win yet.
Dude, they are murdering the world right now, but it's just not translating into the victories. We're seeing them have very good performances inside their team fights. It feels like there are so many targets that are coming after them after they win these team fights. It's near on impossible because they're limping in after these team fights time and time again in the last 2 circles if they can make it to that stage.
Yeah, finding that space to work around has been pretty difficult. I can't stop looking at your puppy, man.
I know. She's very intrigued by this cord. This is why we don't let her stay in here.
It's probably a good reason. You probably don't want to have your cords getting nommed up. But going into the last game of the day, Clover, who you got your eyes on?
Let's just throw that mojo out there. I'm thinking the Sonics are going to finally pull it off.
All right, Matcham, how about you?
I'm going to lean into Dignitas, man. I think that Dignitas has the capabilities. We saw them make it into a couple of late games already. I just want to see them tidy it up.
I'm going to be looking at Troglodytes Yamato. Who you got your eyes on? She's gone.
The door right now. The door, yeah. Dang, she jumped down.
I had it so well prepared, and my desk just let me down once again. But we are getting ready to go into the final game of the day, so let's throw it over to your casters, Cameron Davis, and Godspeed.
Don't worry, Poro. We won't let you down. We're here for you always. We're not going to run up for the door at the first smell of a can of dog food being opened.
Questionable. I may.
Our grips will be really, really tight, white knuckling our desks. So we're not moving, but we will stay. We will commit as much as these teams are committing to giving us one hell of a show.
So far, yeah, they've been giving us a hell of a show, and I will say it's It's been a good day so far at PUBG. I really like the variance we've seen as the team. Well, I say variance as we have Gascan win 2 games, but overall, the mix-up in the top 8 every game has been pretty good. On top of the fact we've obviously seen a lot of LATAM, which is wonderful to see, if I'm being completely honest. And the fact that whoever wins this game potentially sets themselves up for some great momentum going into tomorrow, which we know how important that is because there's still 9 games total left. Obviously, this one plus the next 4 tomorrow and the day after. So this should be a big game.
And I think I'm going to have to echo the desk here a little bit. My eyes are sort of more positioned onto Sonics and Dignitas. I know I said that Dignitas don't generally do well on Miramar, but the previous game, you know, they put up a good little bit of a fight. I'm still looking more at Sonics, of course, to make good work of this map. It would be really, really strange if we ended the first day without more than just Oath from the top dogs of North America coming away with the win.
I mean, it's so true, and I agree with your point, Emperos, but it's just so nitpicky, you know, because it's Sonics, right? Like, you want to talk about fighting out of impossible situations. It absolutely was what they did last game. They really should not have made it across that road or even had any business making it as close as they did to 22 Esports' compound. But they did, and the desk was also right in saying the fact that we kind of expect it now from them, which is like really unfair because of just how ridiculously consistent they are in getting themselves out of those really awful positions. But yeah, so far, even though Sonics have got a good amount of kills and shown us, you know, pretty much the Sonics type of gameplay, they haven't been able to close out a game, Cammy.
Let's see what happens on the final game of the night. Playing Path looking pretty good. No one should be too upset about it. We've had some pretty fair playing paths. All
Again,
night.
in fact,
yes, of course.
I'm upset about every plane that we've had so far today.
Give us the burning plane in competitive mode.
At least give us a circle. Come on. Just give me something. You know what I mean? Something that I would absolutely hate to see as a player. That's what I want to see
Drumstick circle
right now.
again?
I'd love a prison circle, if I'm being honest. We did finally get one of those not too long ago on a broadcast.
Yeah, I was there. I remember.
That's not bad. You know what?
That's not bad. Yeah, how is this? How is this?
I'll take that for sure. There's actually an incredible amount of unplayable area in this circle, and I mean literally unplayable. So a lot of the map is cut off on the west, Cammy, as you can see, and I'm very happy. This is what I wanted. Thank you, PUBG. I really appreciate you guys listening to me and just giving us a messed up circle.
And even maybe a few hundred kilometers just off of where that actual wall is that you can't climb over, that's not really playable in quotes itself. It's just basically putting yourself as a bright beacon of a target for everyone who's on the El Pozo side of that road. So we're only really looking at half of phase 1 that has a lot of options, and it's still phase 1.
Oh, it doesn't even matter.
I don't even think we're gonna have as slow as sort of general of an early game as we did the previous Miramar match.
If you could only see the smile on my face right now, let me tell you why, Cammy. It's not just the unplayable area. Let me really break this down for you. Okay, so just south of Monte Nuevo is that massive like road, right? That ravine, that chasm, whatever you want to call it. And then there's that mountain in between, the other road to the west. It is, and I mean notoriously difficult to cross or even rotate through that area, especially once teams get set up. Obviously, the only team we see there right now is SSG and potentially Trog, and it's really just Kill Demo near that. But once this area, the map starts to get populated, it's pretty much a stick out and fight type of situation for a lot of the teams because they will not make it across for a rotation. On top of the fact that even getting off of those mountains into the ravine with vehicles is nigh impossible for certain positions that you're going to play up there. So this is truly a miserable circle for the players to play, and that makes me very excited. So
very, very excited. I imagine we're going to see a number of teams try and loot up as much as possible. They want to get those backpacks as full as possible because, especially if you're nowhere near the circle right now, the chances of you finding a safe place even in circle 1 are very, very low. On the flip side, Sonics, they're already trying to rotate into the circle, and you have no chance also coming in. They don't have a lot of loot though, because this is still their initial rotation. They're going to be looting up Valdemar, which is actually not a bad position,
which is open
in the circle, all things considered. But these teams, I think at the very least, they're going to get ready to fight.
The other thing as well is like the teams that are rotating early, like Trog, you already see SSG moving, even though they technically were centered up in Monty. No chance. These are teams that generally I would hope like understand how difficult this circle is to play and how important. I mean, we talk about like first circle position generally isn't like the biggest thing specifically because like shifts happen, rotations, obviously you can kind of circumvent issues that you'd have with not getting a really good position in the first circle. This is kind of not one of those cases, specifically because also, you know, I want to say almost half the circle is cut off by unplayable areas. So the teams that are rotating in earlier right now are the teams that are going to be better off, I promise you, especially because a lot of the teams coming in late are going to have to deal with the teams that are stuck on the edge because their position in circle is not great. And I really mean stuck on edge, not like choosing to play edge. So we'll see how this one plays out, but it's going to be rough, and that makes me very excited. Sorry, guys.
Necro's driving quite far. He's made his way to the opposite side of that chasm that you were putting a real beacon of light on, but Keenan is already here as SSG have moved south from Monte Nuevo. He's heard the vehicle, and he's waiting for Necro to get a little saucy. He has Uncivil also as a backup, just in case. And I think Necro, this overextension is definitely going to be a punish, but oh, he spots one. Keenan is here for the trade.
Keenan should be able to find this, yeah. Pinned down, the Civ is feeding him all the information he absolutely needs. That's going to be the easiest knock of Keenan's life. And a flush. And thank you for the loot.
In fact, thanks for the smoke, for the cover.
Yeah,
now that I can loot your body.
Yeah.
Because the rest of Chocolatitos are on the opposite side of that valley. They're trying to give him a little bit of cover, but it just wasn't there. Going for quite ambitious there for Chocolatitas, and they're going to get punished for it. In the meantime, we have a number of other teams getting somewhat close to this location. Dodge are about as far west as I think a team could safely put themselves in. Yeah, and they're also within shooting distance of SSG split.
Well, the crazy thing is, too, for Trog, I don't even necessarily think that was the greediest thing because he had seen most of that area, right? It's just the rotation that came in on the other side. They couldn't see it or really hear it from SSG, and so it just caught him off guard. But otherwise, I do like that they tried to split that and potentially get a position on the other side of that mountain in between that valley, but they got punished for it, and now Space Station, to be completely honest, just needs to be very careful because although they have potentially the best position in the circle right now, they are going to be prone to get shot from a lot of different angles as well as getting pushed from the north, of course.
Clown Car, Valcreche, all of them. And
all three
taking, all four members stealing their mom's Murado. They're breaking out of the nursery. And they're going on a joyride. Find a second one, so that's at least gonna sort of split them into two separate targets if they do come across a team. I don't know. They're coming up not far from Chocolatitas.
I see. Okay, so they're just rotating north. Sorry. Yeah, this is gonna be wild, Cammy. Like I really, really hope chat is
ready
for just an absolute mess in a circle or two.
It's not looking as messy in phase one.
It's not, no, of course.
Surprisingly, we have a lot of teams that are making their way. So there's that Monte Nuevo Southwest Road. I was thinking there'd be more teams on the east side of that. So many teams have actually found their way safely, surprisingly enough, to sort of nestle in on the west side of that Monte Nuevo Road, which gives space for all the teams that are coming in on the east to find their way into the first circle. How long is that sort of like ceasefire gonna last though?
I think that's more of a case of it's a symptom of everyone thinks that the west is going to be hard to get to, or excuse me, everyone thinks that the east is going to be full, so everyone's trying to go to the west. And what that actually does is it overcomplicates, or it oversaturates the west side of that valley, and it's going to make it even more difficult for the teams to get over on the east if it does happen to shift that way, which I mean it could, right? So we'll have to see. Other than that, I mean, you just see teams jockeying and taking shots.
H-Twin trying to zero his targeting on Roth. Roth is able to get out of that without getting knocked. Not too much damage onto him. And here comes Akreche's rotation. Find a little bit of high ground overlooking Fiumba. Chocolatitas are taking some shots onto the other pair of Akreche. So they still need to be a bit worried about all the teams surrounding them. This is definitely not a unique scenario, though, for Akreche. The same can be said for every single team that is just trying to nestle on in. It's like getting onto a subway that's already full. You're looking for that one seat that's open. Can you fit? Or the people that are sort of surrounding that area just maybe a little too big. Subway seats can be a little small, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I'll trust you in that department.
Well, Young Kings being punished on their rotate. Danny G taking one, and one gets knocked out. Don't know if it can get confirmed. I think the revive should be there, but what is Veritas going to do to try and take advantage of this? Yeah, they're pushing on. They want this fight. They want... Oh,
Danny
Ethan! Where'd he get that angle from?
I don't know, but I was really scared. Danny was pushing without reloading his gun. He got it, though. He got it. He saw. I've done that, and it sucks, so I just didn't want to see that for Danny.
He's still on the push, despite and one going down. We know that Ethan has at least a little bit of a sight line.
I like this aggression.
Feeding some information, and yeah, Danny G is going to want to try and remove any potential attackers away. And Young King's trying to drive away from this, but it's not going to be a safe rotation.
Yeah.
He still has a high ground angle.
He could. Oh, this trap is disgusting by Veritas. Can they actually spring it though properly? Can they get a knock?
They need to, because the circle did shift in their favor. The fact that they can't get one, they have a few more opportunities, but Lobes know his bolt isn't going to find a target. So all three surviving members of Young Kings make their way through. And as I said, this circle favors this location. It swung towards the west. We still see an entire third of this circle of that unplayable western ridge. So Young Kings finding their way here, really good take.
No, that was huge. That could have been beautiful from Veritas. They already had the one knock in the flesh. If they could have gotten another one, they then could have pushed on the position of Young Kings much more safely and potentially taken a 4-on-2. Now it's a 4-on-3, and not only that, Young Kings actually have a decent amount of compound there to work with.
Looking at this, not fight.
Sorry, look at Alo's ammo. He only has 70 rounds for his primary. That just goes to show you how early some of these guys rotated.
Yeah. They might be running out pretty soon, though, because you can see on the north side there are a number of teams, and there's not a lot of cover. 22 and Versus getting some trades back and forth, and TSM are in a position to try and capitalize on this. But also to capitalization, Shrimzy chiming in with Finna from Dodge to help wound SSG even further.
Yeah, and SSG overall, if I'm being honest, have had quite a rough day. Yeah, it's just been a little bit of a rough day for SSG. We'll see if they can hopefully bring it back. I mean, they still have 3 members, and if I'm being honest, again, we said it in the early game. They had one of the better positions, but yeah, now they're just sandwiched, and basically that's it. They have to hold off and defend for the rest of this game. As Dignitas is, they're just rotating around Young Kings, I guess.
So Veritas aren't in this location anymore. They actually moved away because of Young King's own presence. But now this gives Young Kings an opportunity to take control of this area, and that's what they're going to go for as Honey Badger does go down. Flux with the counter grenade to try and take out Sparking, because he got Publix coming in from the opposite side. This is all falling apart for Dignitas. They have nothing going on for them.
There's just 1 member left, if I'm not mistaken, or is it 2?
No, Shinboy is able to make his way through, but it's not a comfortable spot. Yet more shots coming his way. He's gonna have to stick that pedal to the metal in order to make it out, but driving uphill is not the easiest thing, but he's able to break away just in time. And so Dignitas are able to play as a duo.
Yeah, that's best case scenario, the fact that they even made it out of that as a duo, and that's all because, Young Kings made it through through the Veritas wall. So because of that, Dig will lose 2, and Young Kings now even better position to move up. And I like the fact that they're being proactive and they're moving up. This is a lot of good terrain for them to work with on the west edge of this wall.
It's open terrain. That also gives them and a bunch of other teams on this side an opportunity to get a little bit of a spread. And they're going to need those crossfires to try and gain a little bit of control. But TSM, their position, they didn't feel super comfortable with it. So they're actually going to leave the western ridge. Gonna send it across the field. Are they gonna try and approach 303's compound?
No. It looks like.
But where else can they go?
Where are they going? Yeah, this is rough, and this is what I was talking about. I mean, it's not even they're just sending it. This is the position that, unfortunately, the circle is imposed on a lot of these teams, and with that shift, it's only gonna make things potentially worse.
Purdy driving that bike with a sliver of HP does finally go down, but the rest of TSM seems to survive for now. Oh no, I might have spoken a little bit too soon. Penta's vehicle loses momentum.
But at least
2 of them, at the very least, able to get into that compound. Yeah, Penta does go down, unfortunately, so that's going to be 2 lost for TSM. But they find something in the circle. And this is territory that is really, really becoming thin. You have a bunch of teams with multiple spreads. Dodge with the 2-2, Veritas with the 2-2. In fact, even Versus have a little bit of a spread for themselves. Akreche. So if you're a team that isn't inside this, you're going to have to choose a place to bomb and actually take a fight.
I'm going to be honest again. My favorite. I've been honest a lot this game. Sorry, just flowing out with honesty. I think Sonics again have potentially the best position to win this game. That north side hill where they can just hold out everyone coming in, and then move forward down to the southwest. Like, they actually have so much terrain and cover to work with. All they have to do is essentially hold out the north. So I really like that position, and I'd favor more the teams in the center. The problem is they're going to get sandwiched, and
yeah,
Sonics is going to be one of those teams sandwiching. So I like their position. They're definitely watch them.
Gascan set up a little bit of a split on the north, not in the circle, but it might give them an opportunity. And unfortunately, Hazelden has the drive-by knock against Hikerman. So they thought they had the advantage, but they're the ones that do get punished by 22. They're still not out of it just yet. Smoking vehicle, where can they drive? They're in the circle. They have a little bit of a plateau to work with. But they're going to have to worry about not only dodge in front of them, but now Gascan's going to be backfilling behind.
True. I do think Gascans will potentially move. Or no, never mind. They can't move. It was Dodge that had the split on the other side. So yeah, Gascans actually have to make this into the circle somehow. At the very least, 22 Esports, yes, they're on the edge, but they're in, and they have a lot of time to figure out what plays they can't make because of the terrain. So we'll see how that goes out for them. But Sonic still, as I said, going to be very comfortably just shooting off anyone trying to rotate here into the north, as we see Mime getting a little more aggressive towards the position of Versus. And really, yeah, Gascans, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this.
Oh! That wasn't supposed to stop them. That ridge just a little bit too high, and this gives Sonics an opportunity to finish what they started, which is taking Versus out of the game. Looking hazy. Looking really bad, but they're alive for now. The vehicle's, yep, that vehicle's gonna go up. They gotta get out.
Oh.
Alo does that for Artray.
T-Plens.
But T-Plens, where can he go?
That's not great either. Oh. Survive. Oh, no.
He's not gonna.
No.
Sonic's had the lineup on him.
Oh, my.
3 HP.
What?
Tries to find some cover. Drop the smoke, drop the smoke, drop the smoke. He can hide under that.
Oh,
that gives him a little bit of a barrier.
Wild. I've never seen that.
How is he still alive? How is he still in this game?
I've never seen a vehicle flip so perfectly to where someone could literally just go to the dashboard. Speaking of flip vehicles, Shinboy.
They're going into no chance. Shinboy, he's telling them that they have no chance as RDS. Well, actually, that's been a very, very unfortunate Molotov.
I hope Shinboy's
this all just goes bottoms up as Dignitas approach the compound. Can they capitalize? Can they finish what no chance started for them? But no, Danny G is trying to chime in, turn to third party. This gives no chance the opportunity for the revives, the opportunity to stabilize. They may have lost one, but Dignitas don't need to know how close they were to defeat. But oh, they're going for the push. Good flash. Peek in the window, spot the revive, and there's only one remaining. Shinboy does go down to Danny, but now Punij, can he even get inside because of the Molotov? He's running around on the outside, dodging bullets, dodging shots, trying to find an opportunity to revive Shinboy, but at least he's able to find cover.
And he does. Beautiful play, honestly, from Dig. We've been talking about this team pretty much all day. At least I have. And
Veritas, they now want this. They see how open and free it is. If only that were a frag grenade. It's only going to be a flash, so it's going to stall a potential push, but Punij needs to put up an amazing 1 versus 4. Hopefully Young Kings can give him a little bit of assistance. And the assist is there in damage. Junior knocked Lobes down to less than half HP. So this means that they're, what doesn't matter, because Wycus finds the angle onto Punij. So Veritas, they do find this compound.
Oh, Bale is going to find shots onto Mime. And now this is interesting because if Oath can usurp this position from Sonics, then I really like their chances of taking it as well. But with this shift, is actually, this almost changed things in favor of the teams that are playing True North, more so the teams kind of on the sides here. We'll see. This fight is huge, though, for the rest of this lobby.
Sonics, they do get the revive, able to pull back. Mime heals up, and so they stay as 4. But Oath has been continuing their surround position, especially with Relo on the flank. Fiumba can backstab Oath, so that's something going in the way of Sonics.
And Sonics realistically don't have to do anything here. They're still in and they're still controlling the high ground, right? There's no way for Oath to realistically get that close without them at least noticing most of them. They might have someone, I think Relo actually is potentially in a position to spoil, but overall Sonics, yeah, they just have to hold.
There it is. There's the backstab. Fiumba gets one. That one secured. Emmy does get knocked. A little bit of trade coming out from Relo on his flank position. The grenades are trading back and forth. But no knocks, no confirms.
This is actually really rough for Oath now, as Sonics obviously have smelled blood in the water, seeing all the knocks, a knock for themselves. Mime is going to find Snakers and just barely survive that. Oath is going to get wiped, Cammy. That is it. As you said, the backstab from Fium absolutely came in.
Shrimsy able to stay alive. 1 HP, I believe, healing on up. But the circle shifts down towards the south, which means that Sonics need to push that direction, which could easily be through Fiumba's edge. Might be the smarter play instead of trying to push up and out in the open. But that means that Fiumba now, they can be the ones to sit and chill and wait for Sonics to make the first move. Because they have the edge, and they're not far from the circle. They even have a member that's already inside that's going to be giving them information, watching over their current position, making sure that their area is available for them.
The problem I foresee for Sonics now, even though they have mostly control of their area, is the fact that there is a fractured team of TSM FTX versus as well as Gas Cans and Dodge, who have to come in on the north or generally around that area, which means they either are going to get a bunch of kills or they're going to get overwhelmed. We'll see. On the flip side, Fiumba could actually also third party if they see Sonics getting into significant trouble.
Sonics, they're not pushing down towards the south. They want to just wipe everyone on the north side before they get themselves in the circle, which, if successful, is going to clear up so much pressure. But it is a tall task, of course. Who is the team that is going to have the best chance?
Probably Sonics.
It's probably Sonics, 100%. So now they are just lying in wait, waiting for the teams, waiting for Dodge and TSM to push into each other, and they're going to be there to capitalize.
Aw. Our friend didn't make it under the vehicle. I was really hoping
surprised.
A little bit. I was hoping he might survive a little longer. Ethan gonna find shots on a Vinny, but Roggy is actually gonna respond onto Finna.
Uh-oh. Oh, the vehicle roll up. Almost got punished by Hazelton. Finna did get knocked. I don't know if there's an opportunity to go for the revive, but this isn't a lot of cover from Roggy.
Hazelton's totally safe. I would have called safe res if I was Hazelton right now.
Would you have?
Completely safe. Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Never mind. Not with Veritas. Once again, finding an opportunity to third party. And Roggy, he's going to go down. That's 22 out in 10th place. 9 teams remain. And Dodge still need to crest over this ridge to get into the circle. But they have SSG. They have Veritas with potential lines of sight. In fact, you don't even need those lines of sight if you have a grenade, as Hallow goes down to a frag from Veritas. More being cooked. You can see off in the distance.
That res, yeah, it's not possible. The circle's coming in way too fast. They're on the faster side of the edge as well. So now Sonics, as you said, and such a good decision as well. Just, again, holding out the north, clearing out everyone they can, forcing them to rotate more towards the west, and then just coming down and dealing with minimal resistance. God, they're so good at this game. It's crazy.
Yes, they are, but it's still, the circle still doesn't favor them. It doesn't favor really anyone. There's no one in this circle. The only team that you could argue favors, maybe, or Young Kings, because this shifted right onto their edge. But it's not going to give them a lot of control. And in fact, you're going to see them getting shot at by Akache. Yeah. So on the low ground, they're going to have to just try and get as flat as possible.
I got to be, wow, Dodge just going to immediately take out Gas Cans, who we saw earlier trying to rotate in the north. That was rough for them. The fact that they even made it in and got that far is pretty impressive. But I still really like Sonic's their position. Obviously, the team themselves, yes, they're capable of doing it. But if whoever wins between SSG and Sonics, I feel like have a real good shot of doing a lot of damage to Akache as well, especially taking that high ground. So we'll have to see. But you also still have Trog, who are tucked in underneath.
Ooh, Sonics, they're taking on a couple of different teams at once. And if Akache sort of peek over, it could be multiple. They get a surround on SSG, but Fiumba are going to be pushing in from the east side. Tickerton going down is not a good start. In fact, not just down. He is full confirmed by his own grenade, caught with it in his hand, and Shrimsy is fighting against an entirely separate squad of his own. But it's still Sonics on the right side of the kill feed. Keenan goes down. Silzen goes down. So despite Tickerton going up to the heavens, Sonics are still putting up one heck of a fight here on the northeastern ridge.
Well, they're still. Shrimsy is effectively holding off a team by himself, and then you have Mime and Hwin working together to do as much damage to SSG as possible. Shrimsy finding another kill, now rejoining the fight against SSG. As is just rough. And that's it. SSG is done.
Sonics are managing to control so many different edges. And
It's
the
crazy.
constant in and out movement. It's absolutely beautiful to watch. They never seem out of sorts. They never seem overextended. They know exactly how far they can push their positioning and what needs to get done in order for them to wrest control. It's still not successful. It's still not accomplished just yet. They need to get into the circle. But with SSG out, it means that they can help Akreche focus in on Fiumba and then potentially come in from this east side.
DraftKings is really kind of running out of options here, especially with how long he's staying in the blue. He knows Mime is watching. Yeah, he's just going to die to the blue. Not even going to go for it. Interesting decision on the last game of just the first day, but you know what?
There was no shot of him getting the win.
No,
so I
but maybe a
the
kill or a
decision
knock. Yeah, I don't think it was a bad decision. I mean, it's last game of the day. You know, you might as well. First day, just go for it. But teach their own. I'm not going to knock it.
5 teams
Slightly
left.
judge it.
Slightly judge it, yeah. 5 teams left, and this is another time where we do see Sonics with potential control of the last high ground in the circle. Akreche are going to be here, though, to try and fight them for it. 4 versus 3. And there is a real opportunity for this fight to break out with no other team with an opportunity to third party it. So it could just be a straightforward 4 versus 3. And with this circle not being shifted in one direction or another, just staying center, it means that both those teams can kind of wait. However, you can tell Akreche's attention is being pulled towards the west as they know that Young Kings and Veritas need to potentially come into their angle.
And the thing is Sonics, I'm fairly positive Sonics and Akreche know about each other, right? Like either team knows that there's another team on the other side of this hill. So realistically, it's how aggressive they want to play onto each other versus holding out the rest of the circle for coming in. Because if you look at Dodge, they actually don't have to move at all. The only teams that have to move are Young Kings and Veritas. Sonics are outside the circle, yes, but they have a ridge right in front of them. They're fine. So realistically, it's just do either one of these teams want to hold out the last 2 and then potentially get the last fight, or is Sonics just going to go for a straight-up fight right now?
Ooh, that might be the case. They see that no one is pushing in from the west, and so they're going to now take this opportunity to fight each other, but they're not overcommitting. Shrimsy backing away. He sees the utility come out. He doesn't want to get flashed, doesn't want to get grenaded. And so it's going to be smokes coming out from Mime to allow them to get closer. Poblex with the first knockout of VHC. Is that going to be the dinner bell for Sonics to push over?
It might be, but you also look at Dodge. Yeah, Dodge is also underneath Sonics. They could make a play, and they're in, so they technically don't have to get that aggressive. But look at this. Hwin holding the back, finally getting shot at from Dodge, while the other 2 members of Sonics are going up and playing aggressive on Akreche. This is just really impressive stuff.
Grenades come over, flash comes over. Shrimsy is prepared to peek. Do they spot Kishin? He's hiding in a very, very sneaky position, but Sonics, they recognize that they have taken the actual peak of that high ground away from Akreche. They've pushed them down towards the south so they can take a quick moment to put attention back towards Veritas, make sure that they can't get comfortable.
And I can promise you Veritas is not comfortable at all.
Oh, yeah.
Now, dude, all those smokes, and what a shot. Hwin is going to find Danny G through the smoke. And Vegas with the arm!
Can't forget about Dodge. They're still in this. They've been quiet because they've been down as a duo. But you peek a little too much. He's going to take your head off with that one. Now how are they going to defend against Veritas? Grenades are coming out. Let's see what we can do with the M4. Let's see what Christian can do with the AK. He's going to pounce from his sneaky hiding hole. But he doesn't find a knock. Instead, gives his position away. Going to continue to go on the aggressive push. Spots one. Potentially spotted in return, but he gets the knock against Mime.
Huge reposition now. He's going to get that flush as well. Cammy and another knock going on to Hwin. It's just 1 member left for the Sonics. And that knock was truly devastating from Vegas onto the Sonics.
It all falls apart. Yep. It all falls apart off of one headshot from the AWM, and that's going to be Sonics going down. Akreche with 10 kills. 4 up. The only team remaining with 4 up. If they can get the revive, they can steal this game away. Or not steal, but they will make sure that no one can steal it from them. But YCuz has been sneaking up. Look at that map. Their old position has been backfilled by the lone remaining member of Young Kings.
That's going to be
Veritas' dodge.
Likely found out. Lobes is going to take his time.
He knows he can't over peaks. He can't push too much onto Vegas, or else Akreche are going to be there on the angle. He's going to keep flashing, and Vegas has no choice but to stay still. Crawling with the blue. He also doesn't have much room to maneuver before he gets taken out. LSP goes down, though. Lobes continues to be a big nuisance, but no, the blue is too much for Dodge. They go out in 4th place.
I would actually be so frustrated if I was Vegas. I would just peek me. that's what I've been yelling at Lobes, but it's a smart play. Unfortunately now for Veritas and Lobes, though, it does look like more or less the end. Can he pull it off?
Wycuz needs to... with the angle that Kishin has? No. It looked like a little sloppy at the start, but he's able to line it up with the head. Now it's on to Wycuz. 4 versus 1. The flood's coming over. What can he do with the barrel in hand? Not much, it seems.
Not much at all.
He gets flashed.
Wow.
And the surround is there. 13 kill victory for Akreche. A young team, not just in name, but also into the Americas scene. And they take the last win of the day.
And they deserved it, man. They really did. From the way that they worked out from the south and the southwest, and the fact that they took that fight with Sonics, even after getting knocked, I believe, by a member of Veritas, and potentially, I think it was Dodge. Someone knocked them while they were fighting Sonics. They still were able to recover. They backed up.
Yeah.
And then a beautiful flank coming in from the... It was just, yeah, Akreche absolutely earned that win. And I have to be honest, that circle was not as unforgiving as I thought for some teams, but it was still very rough, as we saw.
It was still very, very difficult. It showed how strong this region is at the macro compared to years past. Because I think if you look at 2019, 2018, maybe even 2020, if you see a circle like that, there would have been a lot more chaos involved. But these teams are getting used to these unfortunate, very unfriendly circles and knowing just how they can manage it to get all 4 members in and to really focus on getting into the late game as healthy as you can. But the only team that's really been successful at that, in this game at least, was Akreche. Them pulling away from the Sonics, I thought was them basically conceding this game. But the fact that they didn't lose a single member, they just played it safe. Once that knock from Vegas came in, they were able to push right back over and steal that spot away. So it was really Sonics, a rare misstep of just trying to take too much for themselves.
Yeah, it was just, honestly, it was Vegas. Vegas was I don't want to say Vegas was the reason that Akreche won that fight, but he was a very large factor in the fact that he crippled them. They were only a 3-man anyways, right? So they had already lost one member. The fact that it was a 2-on-4 at that point, the decision for Akreche to back up and realize that it wasn't a favorable fight simply because they were also getting shot by other teams, all of that coupled into the way that they pushed and even got the nice little flank onto Sonics was just beautifully played. And they showed that team has been growing, especially now with the roster. And I really think that, again, I've been kind of saying it all day, Latin America is here to play, man. I feel like finally the events that have happened more recently and the fact that they're scrimming now constantly with the mixed regions, they're a serious threat. And I feel like anyone that would take that region lightly now is in for a rude awakening.
And this highlight reminded me that early on in the game, Young Kings and Veritas fought on the hard western edge of Circle 1. And so the fact that we saw both of those teams able to manage their spacing, able to manage their rotations, and get into a top 4 position, neither of them won the game, but that is still more than I would have guessed, considering how early they found themselves in what I would consider an unfortunate spot.
Yeah, not only do they didn't win the game, but they did a lot of damage, and they got, I think, a decent amount of kills off that as well, Cammy. So overall, even still, that they fought so early, it was nice to see them both kind of make it towards the late game. Sonic still, though, with 9 kills, man. I mean, that's no joke. They still have yet to find the win, but that's also what makes Sonic so dangerous, is the fact that in all these games that they're not getting the wins or they're not finishing out the games. The fact of the matter is I'm pretty sure they're still fragging harder than most of the other teams. So all they need is one win, and that's going to be basically shot up in the first place. We'll just see if the other teams can potentially deny them or they're just going to eventually find their way. But Akreche is the one to take that dinner.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It is very, very strange to end the first day without Sonics with a win.
Or TSM, FTX.
Or TSM, yeah, either of those teams. But honestly, especially on the Sonics side of things. But remember, this is only the first third of the first weekend. So they've been playing so well, you have to imagine they're going to get at least 1, maybe even 2 tomorrow. And they honestly, they've been playing, if they continue to play like this, which why wouldn't they? It's the Sonics. They never play like this when they have this full 4 roster. I imagine that we're still going to end up seeing them with at least 3 wins by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't doubt 3, maybe 2. I'm gonna contradict you for once today and just say maybe 2. But overall, I agree that they are going to get at least one win this weekend. I think another team that I want to talk about or just kind of end the point on is Space Station. SSG. I feel like I always say this about the team. They have really good positioning in the early game. Their splits are very intelligent. They don't overextend, but then when it comes to getting pushed or getting in an earlier team fight or even a mid-game team fight, they just seem to kind of lose it. And that, for the start of today, is not necessarily the greatest look. So I'm really hoping Space Station can come back tomorrow and play much more solid.
Yeah, well, this is, of course, or rather, was the last game of the evening. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow. In the meantime, go check out PUBG New State. You can't play it yet, unfortunately. It hasn't been released yet, but pre-register. It looks like a very, very exciting game. Almost as exciting as the games that we have just witnessed. I'm still railing from, again, the whole domino effect of that Vegas headshot onto Sonic's just completely ruining the game for them. But let's not focus on strictly just that. We saw a lot of good PUBG today.
Yeah, we absolutely did. I mean, I said while you were actually talking about it, I kind of interrupted you. I was like, name a more iconic duo, and that's Vegas and an AWM. Because I feel like he's had some really crazy impact games with that AWM. I mean, looking all the way back to, I forget which event it was in Europe when he was still with I think it was his last event with United. I think they won a game because Vegas had an AWM. So not surprising that he was able to make that impact. But overall, today was great, Cammy. It was great to kind of start off the game's casting. Actually, it was nice to cast again. I've been on the desk a lot. And it was great to cast with you again, man. It's been a while. So today was good.
It sure has. Glad to have you back here on the casting desk. Booth casting box, let's call it. But yes, that is it for us. We are going to throw it back to the analysts as they break down this full schlock of games that we've had today. So stick around for that. We will see you there and then afterwards tomorrow.
PUBG New State. Developed by PUBG Studio, PUBG New State will launch as a free-to-play experience on Android and iOS in 2021. Make sure you pre-register on newstate.pubg.com now. Hello, everybody. We are back once again, our final time for the evening, as we have now gotten 4 games out of the way, and the final game is going to go into the pockets of Akreshe with a pretty impressive win. Pretty impressive win, Clover. Nice little stack of kills to go with it.
You know what? I'm happy because I feel like they started off the day with a good performance. They found 7 kills in the first 2 games each on Erangel. So to see them kind of replicate that after a shoddy start on Miramar in the 3rd match, it's exciting because, I mean, as we've been saying all day, LATAM has been coming to play, and I'm just really excited going into the rest of this weekend.
Well, Matt, we couldn't get an interview with any of the Akreshe boys because we don't have a Portuguese translator yet. By the way, guys, if you want to be a Portuguese translator, DM somebody. I don't know who, just DM them. But it would have been my question personally was going to be, what's the deal with the 3-letter names? What would you have asked had we had them in here?
Mine would have been kind of similar to that because we do know the fact that they have their full names, and we're not talking about like their legal names. We're talking about like for whatever they decided to condense them all down just to mess with us just a little bit.
I don't know.
I would have been about the growth of the team itself, especially whenever we look at VHZ and the growth that he's had over the year. I think that we're starting to see more and more success coming out from Latin America, just like Godspeed and Cam were talking about. But I would like to get a specific answer from somebody that's playing from that region to talk about what are the catalysts? Why are we seeing such an explosive growth coming out of them? And like, is there other threats that are coming? Do they have other players that they're trying to keep an eye on? Because we're seeing a lot of roster swaps with a lot of new players coming in.
Sure, yeah. And I really want to piggyback off that just for 1 second, because I mean, you do talk about VHC, and I think that in the past we've often talked about other players around him that are either not present in this event, just not playing, or they're playing for different teams. And I think that you can only use that argument so many times and say, oh, well, you know, Viz was okay, but it's because he was on this roster. I think that this iteration of Akreshe is showing us that Viz is a fantastic player all around.
Let's take a look at those overall leaderboards, see where we're sitting now that we've got 4 games in the books. Gas Cans, of course, sitting right at the top with those 2 chicken dinners that they got on Erangel and Miramar. Not to, you gotta give them a little credit for getting them on both maps. But Akreshe right up there with 28 kills as well. Oath, after winning game 1, kind of disappeared a little bit for the rest of the day, Matcham.
Yeah, but Akreshe stepped up. I love the fact that we saw them coming into this last round in 7th with 15 kills, but just had an explosive round. Dignitas overall, though, Dignitas and Sonics, and again, I feel like a lot of this comes off those early games back over towards Erangel, where we saw Dignitas just murdering people around farm.
Yeah, Dignitas has been looking real strong lately, and I can't stress enough that if they can start figuring out how to clutch out those wins at the end, you got to imagine that they might be making a run for Sonic's crown here. You can see the damage leaders, Shrimzy right at the top. He is an MVP. My God, Clover, how do you think Sonics are going to be looking at this first day now that they've got a great amount of kills, obviously, but no wins?
You know, we kind of talked about it at the very start of today. Wasn't expecting the Sonics to come out really strong with a lot of wins on day 1. I think that what they tend to do sometimes is sit back, really read the lobby, their other teams, kind of get a feel for what the meta is going to be for each specific event. And then we're really going to see them pop off tomorrow. And again, I mean, we talked about it in the previous match. I think when we compared Dignitas and Sonics, both of these teams have been putting down the damage, they're putting down the kills. And once they start getting those wins, they're going to run away with the leaderboard. So for the teams that have been putting in the work, but maybe not finding the kills, they need to be focusing on that as well going into tomorrow.
Well, looking down the leaderboard, we've been kind of focusing on the top part of it, Matcham. Is anything sticking out to you?
Well, I just want to follow up real fast. I did want to point out the fact that Sonics right now are presently at 6,181 damage in 4 rounds. And the next team behind them is at 4,416. That is a massive damage output coming out from the Sonics right now. And they're not getting chicken dinners, and they're not always making it into the super late stages of the game. So if you're like, why are they talking about Sonics so much? That's why. Now on the other side of the leaderboard, let's be real. There's some teams that have been real quiet today. I know that a lot of eyes are going to be drawn over to TSM, FTX. But I wouldn't say they're just right in the middle of the pack-ish right now, if I'm remembering properly. It's just nothing been a big explosive thing coming out from them. What I've kind of also got my eyes drawn to is Space Station Gaming and Troglodytes as well. Troglodytes is a team we were talking up moving into this, and they have 4 kills.
You know, 3 of which came from that first Erangel match when they stopped that Sonics push, right?
That's an average of 1 kill per game.
Happened is this beginning and the end of the game, and that's heartbreaking for Troglodytes, the team that came out with the kill lead out of the LATAM region being in last place. You really hate to see it, but you know, your point about TSM, it's right. They've kind of been middling. We haven't really seen them have a late game presence yet, and I think that if they can figure out a way to tackle that, maybe change some things up going into tomorrow, we could see those wins start to come out.
Yeah, I definitely got to say I'm a little bit shocked at the Troglodytes performance so far. But again, only 4 games in. We've still got 4 games tomorrow. So make sure that you guys come back and join us back here, same time, same place. I think it's 4 p.m. PST, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, as we will be here once again. But also keep in mind, there's other regions going on as well, so keep your eyes open for those and get in all of your PUBG, ESL action, and really, because I know you guys are craving it. You're craving it. You want more. You want more, Matcham.
I do. I also want more Vegas Bolt, please. Just please.
More Vegas Bolt. Well, once if you can go and practice some more bolties, you too can sign up for these PCS 5 open qualifiers. Registrations are open now, so get yourself a team together and come out here and see what you can do. Anyway, so Clover, we are all done. We're getting ready to send it down. Let's get some final thoughts in. What's your take home from the first day?
I mean, we had a repeat winner already off the bat, but my biggest thing is we've always talked about consistency. And so now going into tomorrow, are we going to see some consistency in terms of growth, or are teams that are known to start strong and fall going to consistently fall the rest of this weekend?
Matchroom, how about you?
I'd be scared for tomorrow, because a lot of these teams that we've been talking about, like, hey, what's going on with them? They're homework teams. They're going to go back, study VODs, and then tomorrow is going to be scary, because if anything, now a couple of these teams are really pissed and are going to be on the hunt for every single chicken dinner they can get. If you're at the bottom of the leaderboard, study the VODs even harder, because it's going to be much harder tomorrow.
Well practiced and well coached. Well, that is going to do it for us today. Make sure you come back tomorrow and join us for day number 2. But for now, on behalf of myself, Matchroom, Clover, and Cameron, and Godspeed, as well as the entire production crew, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Let him strong!